I was dying. Lung cancer, late stage. Every cough tore through my chest, and I couldn't sleep. Then I heard my son looming talking in the living room. Dad, she keeps coughing all the time. This house has thin walls, I can't rest. She's not even my real mom. Why should I take care of her? It's annoying. My heart stopped. Not his real mother? I carried him for 10 months. They cut me open with 7 layers to bring him into this world. How could he not be mine? I stormed out and demanded answers. Lu Ming didn't even bother hiding it anymore. He told me coldly that his real mother was my sister-in-law, Wang Xiaomei. I grabbed my husband Lu Jiangwo and forced him to explain. He shook off my hand like I was something dirty, then told me the truth. When I had my C-section, I only gave birth to a daughter. My sister-in-law, a widow, had just delivered twins and couldn't afford to raise both. So they took one of her children and gave him to me, and they gave my daughter to her. They never told me because they were afraid I wouldn't treat someone else's child well. Then it hit me. Lu Ming and Lu Na always looked exactly alike. If the son wasn't mine, the daughter wasn't mine either. I could barely breathe. I asked the question I was terrified to ask. Was Lu Min, the little girl who drowned in the river at age 4, was she my real daughter? Lu Jiangwo's eyes went dark.
Yes.
But it was an accident. Nobody's fault. I slapped him as hard as I could. He was an animal. They took my baby away and gave her to someone else, and she died at 4 years old, drowned in cold water. And I spent my whole life raising children that weren't even mine. I collapsed. Everything went black. When I woke up in the hospital, I kept my eyes closed, but I could hear everything. Wang Xiaomei was sitting beside my bed, and since she thought I was about to die, she decided to let me die knowing the truth. She told me my daughter didn't just drown by accident. A boy named Go Xing pushed her into the river. His grandmother paid Wang Xiaomei 30 yuan to keep quiet, and she took the money and never said a word. She told me my younger brother had written me letters begging for help, but she intercepted every single one. She blamed me for not giving up my job sooner. Though in the end I did give it up, and it cost my brother his life. She told me my younger sister once came looking for me, covered in blood from the waist down, after being attacked. Wang Xiaomei turned her away at the door and never told me. Later, my sister was taken by a human trafficker. Every word was a knife. 30 years I had helped this woman, treated her like family, and she was the one who destroyed everyone I loved. I raised her children with my husband, children born from their affair, while my own daughter lay dead at the bottom of a frozen river. I hated her so much I tried to reach out and strangle her, but all that came out was blood. I died with my eyes wide open, staring at her face, swearing that even as a ghost I would never let them rest. Then I heard Wang Xiaomei's voice again, but it was different. Younger, breathless, flirtatious.
No.
Jiangwo, we can't. Mandong is lying in the next room. If she finds out I'm finished, I opened my eyes. I was lying on a rough straw mat. The walls were covered in old newspaper. A portrait of Chairman Mao hung above me. The calendar on the wall said July 16th, 1975, 16 days after my wedding. I pinched myself hard. It hurt. I was alive. I had gone back in time. On this day in my first life, I had fainted from heat stroke while working in the fields and slept until evening, completely unaware of what was happening in the next room. My husband's family had just returned from his older brother's funeral. His parents had gone to the commune office to handle paperwork. And the moment they were alone, Lu Jiangwo and Wang Xiaomei couldn't wait to throw themselves at each other. I could hear Lu Jiangwo's voice through the curtain, full of contempt. Don't worry about her. She passed out from the heat. She won't wake up for a while. She's just a capitalist's daughter. If she didn't have a job and a dowry, I never would have married someone with bad class status. Her whole family's been sent down. She's got nobody. Even if she found out, she wouldn't dare do anything. Wang Xiaomei asked him to let her stay in the Lu household instead of going back to her stepmother's home. He agreed eagerly. Then she asked for my job, my factory position, my only security. He agreed to that too, without a second thought. And he told her to burn my brother's letter, complaining that all he ever did was ask for money. My nails dug into my palms until they bled. In my first life, I slept through all of this and walked blindly into every trap they set. I lost everything: my children, my brother, my sister, my job, my life. But now heaven had given me a second chance, and I wasn't going to waste a single second. I dragged myself off the bed. My head was spinning from a heat stroke, but I grabbed the hot water thermos I had filled that morning. I could hear the rhythm of their betrayal through the curtain. I ripped the curtain open and smashed the thermos straight onto Liu Jiangwo's back. It shattered on impact. Boiling water and broken glass sprayed all over him. He screamed like a slaughtered pig and jumped off the bed, howling. "Xiao Mandong, have you lost your mind?" Wang Xiaomei was mostly shielded by his body, but she was burned too. She was so terrified her soul nearly left her body. She scrambled for her clothes, hands shaking so badly she buttoned them wrong. She knew she was finished. I stared at the two of them with bloodshot eyes. Wang Xiaomei had the nerve to look at Liu Jiangwo's burns with concern. "Mandong, he's your husband. How could you be so cruel?" I couldn't help but laugh. "He's my husband, so you don't need to worry about him. Sister-in-law, your man hasn't been dead for half a month, and you're already afraid the field will go dry? Had to find someone to plow it right away." Her face turned red. She didn't expect me to talk like that. But I wasn't done. "You've already done the ugly deed, and you're upset that my words are ugly? Planning to get pregnant quick and pass it off as your dead husband's child? That's fraud. You'd be stealing military death benefits. That's a crime. And you've been stealing my letters and trying to take my job. Wang Xiaomei, I've never met anyone as shameless as you." Her pink face went white. She realized I must have been awake the whole time and heard everything. But she pulled herself together fast. There were no witnesses. She figured if she denied everything, what could I do? Even if I told people, nobody would believe a woman with my family background. And my in-laws cared too much about their reputation to let a scandal become public. So she put on her act. "I just came to bring you hot water." I almost tripped and Jiangwo caught me. "How dare you accuse me? My husband's body is barely cold, and you say these things? You're driving me to death." She started fake crying. Then Liu Jiangwo stepped in front of her, shielding her. "You can eat whatever you want, but you better watch what you say. Accusing a military martyr's widow of something like this could land you in prison. She's a protected class. And don't forget your own position. You're a capitalist's daughter. Everyone in this village knows it. Who's going to believe a capitalist over a war hero's widow? Don't cause trouble for me, or I'll make sure you can't survive in this village." That was a naked threat. Because my family had been labeled and sent down because my class status was bad, they believed they could do anything to me. They could sleep together right under my nose, they could swap my children, and they were certain I couldn't fight back. Even if I spoke up, nobody would take my side. Ever since I married into this family, they'd treated me like dirt. I worked at the factory, then came home to feed the chickens and pigs, worked the fields for labor points, and handed over every cent of my wages. I really don't know how I lived such a pathetic life before. But not this time. "So you do know your husband's body is barely cold," I said to Wang Xiaomei. "I thought you'd forgotten. Heaven sees everything. Whether you admit it or not doesn't matter to me. Just be careful when you're sleeping at night. Your husband might come looking for you." I could feel my body giving out. I'd just come back from the dead, and the heat stroke was still dragging me down. I needed to rest and save my strength. The real fight was still ahead. Wang Xiaomei shuddered at my words. I could see it, her dead husband's mangled face flashing through her mind. She grabbed her collar with shaking hands. "That's superstitious nonsense. I came here out of kindness to bring you water, and you repay me with slander. Give me back my letter," I said, holding out my hand. Fear had taken over her completely. She just wanted to get away. She pulled the letter from her pocket, threw it on the ground, and ran. Liu Jiangwo glared at me, then chased after her. Funny, he seemed to forget all about his burns the moment I mentioned his dead brother. Once they were gone, my legs gave out. I leaned against the door frame, my face white as paper. I bent down, picked up the letter, and gripped it tight. I locked the door and dragged myself back onto the bed. In my past life, this was the exact day I stopped receiving letters from my younger brother. Now I knew why. Wang Xiaomei had been stealing them all along. I opened the letter. My brother was asking for money again. He'd been writing to ask for money ever since the family was sent down over a year ago. Thinking about how he died in my previous life, I was sure something terrible was happening to him. But his disaster was still over a year away. Right now, I needed to deal with my own situation first and find my younger sister. As for Wang Xiaomei, in my past life, I actually felt sorry for her. A young widow, all alone. I shared everything with her. Food, supplies, kindness. When we were both pregnant at the same time, I had a job and could afford good food, and I always brought her a share. What did I get in return? She destroyed my family. And those 2 children I raised with all my heart turned out to be ungrateful wolves who felt nothing for me. But heaven gave me another chance, and I was going to change everything, for me and for my family. I knew the village cadres would come to the house tonight to pay their condolences for Liu Jianjun's death. Tomorrow, people from the commune would come too. I needed to sleep now and gather my strength. Tonight, when the cadres arrived, I would find a way to break free from this family. I lay on the bed, breathing in the soapberry scent of the 1970s, and slowly drifted off. I dreamed about the past. The Xiao family were traditional Chinese medicine practitioners for generations. We were well off. I grew up loved by my parents and grandparents. I had a younger sister and a younger brother. Then one day, someone reported our family with false accusations, and we faced being sent down. My mother, Wang Meixia, immediately asked for a divorce. She said she could take my brother and cut ties with the Xiao family, so at least the 2 of them would be spared. My father agreed without hesitation. He thought he was protecting his wife and son. He signed the papers, gave her money, and let her take my brother. But less than 3 months after the divorce, my mother remarried and brought my brother into another man's home. From that day on, she never looked back. She never came to see me, not even once. If she had visited even a single time, the Liu family wouldn't have dared to bully me so badly. My father knew what my mother's side of the family was like. They were manipulative people who had used underhanded methods to force my mother into marrying him in the first place. He was afraid they'd try to control my marriage too, so he quickly found me a husband and arranged the match himself. He even bought me a factory job, so I'd have security. My younger sister was only 17, too young to marry, so he sent her to a village near mine to work as a sent-down youth, hoping the 2 of us could look after each other. The Liu family was my father's choice. He gave a 200 yuan dowry along with me. Liu Jiangwo and I had registered our marriage a year ago, but we never held the wedding banquet. Right after we registered, his older brother Liu Jianjun was up for a military promotion, and promotions required a political background check. Because my family's class status was bad, Father Liu was afraid I'd hurt his eldest son's chances, so the family postponed the wedding by a year. In the countryside, if you haven't held the banquet, you're not really married. So, even though we had the certificate, I never let Liu Jiangwo touch me. I insisted the wedding night would wait until after the banquet. I never liked him anyway. Then Liu Jianjun's promotion fell through. The real reason was that someone more capable beat him out for the position. But Liu Jianjun was too proud to admit that. He told his family it was because of my political background that my bad class status ruined his review. After that, the entire Liu family despised me. I only learned the truth in my previous life, when Wang Xiaomei accidentally let it slip. Tonight, when the village cadres came, I was going to tear off Liu Jianjun's mask and expose every lie. Loud banging on the door woke me up. I sat up on the bed and needed a moment to remember where and when I was. "You little wretch. You cursed creature," my mother-in-law's voice hit me like a wall. "Look what you did to Jiangwo. Why did we ever let him marry a jinx like you? The moment we held the wedding banquet, someone in this family died. If it weren't for you, Jianjun would have been promoted long ago. He never would have been sent on that dangerous mission. He'd still be alive. And now this family is barely through the funeral and you're already causing trouble. Get out here." Hearing that familiar screaming voice, I knew for certain I really had been reborn. I had no idea what story Liu Jiangwo and Wang Xiaomei had told her, but it didn't matter. I wasn't going to take the blame anymore. Then I heard Wang Xiumei's voice, soft and pitiful, sniffling to my mother-in-law. Mom, don't blame her. She just got married, and you all had to leave for the army base right away. She's probably just frustrated. I won't hold it against her. We're all family. My mother-in-law ate it right up. Xiumei, don't you worry. Mom will deal with this today. This Xiao Mandong thinks she's something special because she has a little factory job. I don't know what sins our Lu family committed to end up with such a jinx. I'm going to teach her a real lesson today. I checked the time. The village cadres wouldn't arrive for a while yet. I couldn't face all of them alone too early. I was no match for this whole family by myself. So I stayed on the bed and didn't move. My mother-in-law pounded on the door until her patience ran out. Her cursing got worse and worse. At first she held back from breaking the door because she didn't want to pay to fix it. But finally her anger won. Xiao Mandong, did you die in there? Open this door. Jiangwo, kick it down. Lu Jiangwo raised his foot to kick. I flung the door open at that exact moment. His foot met nothing but air, and his legs split wide apart. He landed right on the door frame, sitting on the threshold with his full weight. He grabbed himself between the legs, teeth clenched, cold sweat pouring down his forehead. It took him a long time before he could even scream. Jiangwo, are you all right? Xiumei, go get the doctor. My mother-in-law was frantic, and Wang Xiumei took off running. Lu Jiangwo was a mess, snot and tears running down his face from the pain. My mother-in-law forgot about me for the moment and helped him inside. The village barefoot doctor came quickly, examined him, and said there probably wasn't any serious damage. He should rest for a few days and see how things went. After the doctor left, my mother-in-law remembered me again. You little wretch. You really are a curse. Look what happened to Jiangwo because of you. His back is covered in blisters so he can't lie on it, and now this injury means he can't lie face down either. You're trying to kill him. She raised her hand to slap my face. Stop, the village chief's voice cut through the air. I finally exhaled. The timing was perfect. Our village, Kaoshan, had about 4,000 people and 6 cadres, the chief, the accountant, the party secretary, the women's director, the militia captain, and the deputy chief. Tonight, every single one of them had come. My mother-in-law quickly pulled her hand back. Beating your daughter-in-law was common enough in the countryside, but you did it behind closed doors. Nobody would do it in front of officials. Chief, what brings you all here? She stammered. We're here on behalf of the brigade to pay our condolences. What's going on? Jianjun just passed away. Can't you people keep things quiet? The commune is sending people tomorrow for the evaluation. Watch what you say. The chief looked at me. I could see his expression change. I was white as a sheet, nothing but skin and bones, clinging to the door frame like I might collapse any second. Mandong, how are you feeling after the heatstroke? Rest for a few days. Your in-laws are back now and you have your job. Let someone else handle the field work. His words made my eyes sting with tears. I'd been lying there all afternoon and not a single person in this house had asked if I was okay. The chief was my only hope. My grandfather had once saved his mother's life, a secret nobody else knew. The chief had also helped arrange my marriage to the Liu family. Back then, the idea was that marrying into a family with a soldier, a good class background, would help cover up my own bad status. Outsiders wouldn't dare bully me. Nobody expected that the people bullying me would be the Liu family themselves. I choked back tears and spoke up. Chief, my husband and my sister-in-law are having an affair. I caught them. Please, I'm begging you to help me. The chief froze. You. What did you say? She's lying. She's making it up. I'll fight her. Wang Xiumei hadn't expected me to actually say it out loud in front of everyone. She lunged at me. I was too weak to stand steady, but I stumbled sideways and dodged her. The chief stepped in front of me. What do you think you're doing? We're standing right here, and you dare attack someone? Do you think we're invisible? Wang Xiumei switched to her victim act, looking at the chief with big hurt eyes. Chief, I went to bring Mandong some hot water, and I almost slipped. Jiangwo just caught me to stop me from falling. She saw that and assumed the worst. My husband just died for his country, and she's accusing me of this. How am I supposed to live? My mother-in-law recovered from her shock. You little wretch. How dare you slander my son? I'll rip your mouth off. Everyone stop. Nobody touches anyone. Mandong, go on. The chief kept me behind him. Wang Xiaomei dropped to the ground, wailing. I can't live like this. She's ruining me with lies. How am I supposed to go on? She was trying to drown me out. You can cry yourself to death, for all I care. I'm telling every bit of it today, I said, my voice hard as iron. If I don't get a fair answer tonight, tomorrow I'll go to the commune. I'll go to the police. I'll go to the army. I refuse to believe there's nowhere in this country where I can find justice. Wang Xiaomei turned desperate. You have no proof. Without proof, it's just slander. She and Lu Jiangwo had agreed. As long as they denied everything, nobody could touch them. I was the only witness, and with my class background, who would believe a capitalist's daughter. My mother-in-law piled on. Xiao Mandong, you're heartless. We took you in when you had nowhere to go. This is how you repay us? Do you know what an accusation like this would do to Jiangwo's future? What she really cared about was this. When they went to the army base for the funeral, a military officer told them that if the family ever needed help, they should reach out. Her husband had asked for a military enlistment spot for Lu Jiangwo. The officer hadn't approved it yet, said it needed to go through review, but Father Lu was sure it was just a formality and would be granted. And deep down, my mother-in-law knew her son had feelings for Wang Xiaomei. She'd been willing to look the other way, thinking maybe they could produce an heir for the eldest brother's line. But she never expected me to find out. I looked straight at Wang Xiaomei. Do you really think if you deny adultery, everything will just go away? Do you think hospitals don't exist? If evidence can't be found, how does the police solve assault cases? What did you say? Wang Xiaomei's lips were trembling. She truly didn't know if such a thing could be tested. But I kept my face calm and steady, and that shook her confidence. If what I said was true, she'd be destroyed. My mother-in-law read Wang Xiaomei's expression and instantly understood. These two idiots really had been caught red-handed. The truth was, I was bluffing. With the medical technology of this era, I had no idea if they could actually test for something like that. But they didn't know that. The village chief looked at me, barely standing, and I could see guilt on his face. He had helped arrange this marriage, and now he could see how badly it had turned out for me. He grabbed a packet of brown sugar from the women's director's bag, tore it open, and barked at my mother-in-law. Go get a bowl. She didn't want to, but with all the officials watching, she had no choice. The chief made me a cup of brown sugar water and told me to drink slowly and take my time talking. When I took the warm cup from his hands, I couldn't stop the tears. After a few sips of the hot sweet water, I felt much better. I'd been so dizzy, I probably had low blood sugar from not eating all day. I led the village cadres into the inner room. The broken thermos was still on the floor. I pointed to the corner of the bed. That's my sister-in-law's undergarment. If she won't admit it, I can file a police report. When I woke up today, I saw my husband and my sister-in-law. Shut up, my father-in-law's voice cut in from the doorway. He'd just arrived and caught the end of what I was saying. His eyes were like knives. He wanted to skin me alive. The chief turned to him, clearly annoyed. Lu Bingshan, if you think this doesn't need our involvement, then I'll have no choice but to report it to the commune or hand it to the police. My father-in-law backtracked immediately. Chief, that's not what I meant. This is a family matter, just a misunderstanding. We can handle it ourselves. No need to trouble you all. The women's director cut him off. This isn't just your family's business anymore. We know about it now, which makes it the brigade's business. For the sake of the brigade's reputation, this needs to be handled properly. My father-in-law coughed and gave me a look, trying to signal me to watch my mouth. I wasn't going to go easy on the Lu family. Not anymore. I kept going. I hit them with the thermos. Lu Jiangwo's back is covered in burn blisters. My sister-in-law was burned too. Lu Jiangwo was in such a rush to run that he tripped and landed on the door frame and injured himself down there. The barefoot doctor can confirm. The barefoot doctor had just come back to deliver medicine and had been listening to the whole thing with great interest. When I mentioned him, he nodded eagerly. Yes, that area was definitely injured. I'd thought up this angle the moment Lu Jiangwo hurt himself on the threshold. If they could frame things their way, so could I. That's nonsense. My Jangwo just fell a moment ago. He didn't fall while doing anything. My mother-in-law was so angry she blurted it out without thinking. The instant those words left her mouth, my father-in-law slapped her across the face. You idiot! She clapped her hand over her mouth. She'd been so furious, she'd accidentally confirmed the whole thing. After looking into everything, the village cadres understood exactly what had happened. They all looked at Wang Xiaomei with disgust. She could only cover her face and cry, wishing the ground would open up and swallow her. The women's director glared at Wang Xiaomei, then turned to me. Comrade Xiao Mandong, state your demands.
How do you want this resolved?
Report it to the commune or accept compensation. We'll make sure you get a fair outcome. I have 3 conditions, I said. I know that if this gets out, the brigade will lose its chance at this year's award. Everyone has worked hard all year. I don't want my personal problems to drag the whole village down. I could see the relief on the cadres' faces. That afternoon while I was resting, I'd thought this through carefully. Now wasn't the time to act on pure anger. My sister was working in a village not far from here. We were strangers in this area with no connections. I couldn't afford to make enemies just for the satisfaction of revenge. As long as I was alive, I could take my revenge slowly. It was better not to blow this up, at least not in a way that could be traced back to me. The women's director had been worried. The village had just produced a military martyr, which meant they had a real shot at the Outstanding Brigade Award this year. If a sex scandal came out, no one would talk about the Liu family's shame. Every neighboring village leader would say Kaoshan village was full of cheaters. So when I showed I was willing to consider their position, the women's director was grateful. Tell us. We'll do our best to help. First, I want a divorce. This man is too dirty. He disgusts me. Every face in the room changed. Divorce was almost unheard of. In this whole region, nobody divorced. Even if they managed to keep the affair quiet, the stigma of divorce would still be bad. Don't worry, I added quickly. I'm willing to divorce quietly. I won't tell anyone. The women's director relaxed. But my mother-in-law wasn't having it. Absolutely not. I don't agree. It wasn't that she wanted to keep me. She just couldn't stand the idea that I was the one doing the leaving. In her mind, her perfect son was being dumped by a capitalist's daughter. That was a humiliation she couldn't swallow. I looked at her. If you don't agree, then I'll go to the police. She had nothing to say to that. My father-in-law weighed the situation. Then something occurred to him. Divorce might actually work in their favor. He'd been worried that Liu Jiangwo's political background check for military enlistment wouldn't pass because of me. When they first agreed to marry me, they hadn't planned on sending Jiangwo to the army. But now that a military spot had opened up, cutting ties with a capitalist's daughter was actually convenient. I agree to the divorce, he said slowly. What's your second condition? Second, I want all of my dowry back, including the 200 yuan my father gave. My mother-in-law shot to her feet. You ruined this family, and now you want to walk away with the money? In your dreams. That money was already in her pocket. Giving it back would hurt worse than cutting flesh from her body. Since you won't agree to this and won't agree to that, there's no point in talking, I said. I'll just go to the police. Maybe the Liu family can add a labor camp prisoner to the household register. Shut your mouth, my father-in-law hissed at my mother-in-law through clenched teeth. I agree. The matter was already in front of the village leadership. It had to be resolved properly. The women's director looked at me, waiting. Third, and this is where I need the leader's help, I want to apply to go work in Red Flag Brigade as a sent-down youth. Every official in the room stared at me in disbelief. I had a factory job. Why on earth would I want to go to the countryside? The chief thought I would ask for a piece of land and permission to build a house, since I'd have nowhere to live after the divorce. He never expected me to volunteer for rural labor, but I'd already thought it through. My sister was working as a sent-down youth at Red Flag Brigade. That's where something terrible had happened to her in my previous life. Even if I lived at Red Flag Brigade, I couldn't watch over her every minute of every day. The only way to truly change her fate was to be right there beside her. On top of that, my family, my father, my grandparents had been sent to the mountains right behind Red Flag Brigade. If I was nearby, I could find ways to help them survive those brutal years. Maybe this time, my grandmother wouldn't die in a cattle shed before the family's name was ever cleared. This life, I was going to protect my family no matter what. And my brother would reach working age next year. If I could bring him to the same area, we'd all be together. Besides, it was 1975. My factory job would only last a few more years before being eliminated anyway. Better to sell it now while it still had value. The chief looked at me with concern. Mandong, divorce is a serious thing. Are you sure you don't want to think it over? Thank you, chief, but there's nothing to think about. I must divorce him. I don't want to spend one more second in this family. My father-in-law's lips twitched with rage, but he didn't dare say a word. The truth was already out. Arguing would only make things worse. The chief saw that my mind was made up and stopped trying to convince me. After what had happened, staying with the Liu family would only bring more suffering. He turned to my father-in-law. Since everything is settled, let's put it in writing. A guarantee letter with all three of Mandong's conditions: voluntary divorce, return of all dowry items including the sewing machine, the watch, and the 200 yuan, and cooperation with her transfer paperwork to Red Flag Brigade. Every member of the family signs and stamps their fingerprint. The accountant and I will be witnesses. With this letter, nobody can go back on their word. The village accountant pulled out paper and a pen from his bag and wrote the guarantee letter right there on the spot. Every detail was clear. The only delay was the actual divorce paperwork. They have to wait until Liu Jiangwo could walk again. My father-in-law didn't want to sign, but refusing would mean openly defying the brigade leadership, and that would only make things worse. He clenched his teeth, made my mother-in-law and the injured Liu Jiangwo press their fingerprints, then everyone signed, and he stamped his own print last. I took the letter, read it carefully to make sure nothing was missing, then folded it and tucked it safely into my pocket. The chief kept the second copy and handed it to the accountant for safekeeping. Then he warned my father-in-law, until she leaves for the countryside, Xiao Mandong will still be living here. You will guarantee her safety. Otherwise, don't blame me for what comes next. The cadres set down the condolence gifts and turned to leave. They had barely reached the front gate when my mother-in-law started muttering under her breath. 8 generations of bad luck, marrying a jinx like her, cursing my Jianjun. That reminded me. There was one more thing I needed to do. I rushed out after them.
Chief.
Leaders, please wait. They turned around, probably thinking I'd changed my mind about the divorce. After all, in this era, divorce was considered shameful. A divorced woman's reputation was even worse than a widow's. I noticed some villagers passing by on the road. I raised my voice on purpose. There's something I've held inside for a long time, and I need to say it today. During New Year's, Wang Xiaomei accidentally let something slip. Liu Jianjun's promotion wasn't denied because of my family background. The real reason was that someone more qualified beat him for the position. He lost fair and square, but he came home and blamed everything on me. He made his whole family hate me for it. He was the eldest brother, so I kept quiet to protect his reputation. But I'm not carrying that lie anymore. If you don't believe me, you can investigate with the army. The military doesn't lie. And if I'm the one lying, I'll accept any punishment. In my previous life, the Liu family had used their military martyr status to lord over the whole village for years. Now that the hero's mask was ripped off, I wanted to see who would still bow to them. The cadres shook their heads at my father-in-law. The chief sighed. Liu Bingshan, your family really went too far with this. How could you let an innocent person take the blame? And Jianjun.
Well,
the dead deserve respect, but this is really... My father-in-law was frantic with embarrassment. He wanted to argue back, but was terrified I might actually go to the army base to verify the story. So he threw his wife under the bus. We never blamed Mandong. It's just this old woman and her big mouth, talking nonsense all day. I'll deal with her when we get inside. The villagers passing by exchanged looks and whispered to each other. I knew this news would spread through the entire village by morning. The moment the gate closed, my mother-in-law's fury exploded. The divorce, giving back the money, and now her eldest son's reputation destroyed. It was too much. But she couldn't take it out on me. So, she turned on Wang Xiaomei. Wang Xiaomei, get in here. Now, Wang Xiumei ran to Lu Jiangwo's bedside and grabbed his arm. "Jiangwo, help me." But Lu Jiangwo was kneeling on the bed with his legs spread apart, unable to lie down or roll over. He had no energy to care about anyone else. He pried her fingers off his arm. "Just go talk to Mom and apologize nicely. It'll be fine." When Wang Xiumei didn't come fast enough, my mother-in-law stormed over, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her into the room. Wang Xiumei was shaking like a leaf. She was truly terrified. When she first married into the family, my mother-in-law had beaten and cursed her constantly. It was only after she followed Lu Jianjun to the military base that she'd escaped. Now she was right back where she started. The screaming and crying that came from that room went on and on. Whatever Wang Xiumei went through in there, only she would ever know. I went back to my room and locked the door. I didn't even bother cleaning up the broken thermos on the floor. I wouldn't be here much longer anyway. I lifted a loose brick under the edge of the bed and pulled out a small package wrapped in oilcloth. Inside was my bank book, some ration tickets, and a silver ring with a strange pattern, threaded on a red braided cord. The ring was a gift from my grandmother. She said it had belonged to our ancestor, a bridal heirloom passed down through generations. I'd worn it around my neck since I was a child. When I first came to the Lu family, my sister-in-law Lu Hong saw it and demanded I give it to her. I refused. She stole it from me in the middle of the night, and I had to fight to get it back. I put it back around my neck. The moment it touched my skin, I felt something strange. The tightness in my chest and the dizziness noticeably eased. Now that I thought about it, my health had always been decent. It only started getting worse and worse after I'd taken the ring off. But I didn't have time to think about that now. There was too much to do. I sewed the bank book and tickets into the lining of an old cotton jacket. From outside the door, I could hear Wang Xiumei sobbing. I smiled to myself. I knew that by revealing it was Wang Xiumei who'd leaked the truth about Lu Jianjun's failed promotion, my mother-in-law would take it out on her. Of course, Wang Xiumei really had been the one who told me, just not until 10 years from now. I packed up all my belongings, tied them with rope, locked my door, and headed to the village threshing ground. Plenty of people were there, chatting and enjoying the cool evening air while children ran around playing. I spotted a boy named Go Xing chasing another child with a rock in his hand. He was the one. Wang Xiumei had told me on my deathbed that this boy had pushed my daughter into the river. He was only 3 years old now, but already rotten to the core. I gave him one cold look, then turned away. I walked over to the chief's wife. "Auntie Lu, does anyone in the village want to buy a sewing machine? It's from my dowry. I don't know how to use it. I'd like to sell it. It's only a year old, used maybe 4 times. Practically brand new, the chief's wife had already heard about my situation. She knew my grandfather had once saved her family, so she was warm and eager to help. "Hold on, let me ask around. Tao Tsuehua, your son's getting married. Do you need a sewing machine?" Tao Tsuehua came running over. "Do you have an industrial coupon?" She'd been stressed for months trying to get one. The wedding was a month away, and she still didn't have the coupon she needed. She had sores on the corners of her mouth from worrying. "No coupon needed," the chief's wife said. "Xiao Mandong is selling hers. 1 year old, used 4 times, like new. If you can't get a coupon, just buy hers. It'll be cheaper too." Tao Tsuehua asked the price. 100 yuan, no coupon required. "You can come look at it, not a single scratch," I said. I'd set the price low on purpose. The original cost was 175 yuan plus a sewing machine coupon and 15 industrial coupons. Everything I said was true. My mother-in-law could barely use it, so she'd mostly ignored it. But my sister-in-law, Lu Hong, had her eye on it. She wanted it as part of her own wedding dowry someday. In my previous life, that's exactly what happened. The Lu family took my sewing machine and gave it to Lu Hong when she married. Since I was headed to the countryside, I needed to sell everything I couldn't carry. Even if I sold things cheap, I would rather get a few yuan than leave a single item for the Lu family. Tao Tsuehua was overjoyed. She called her husband and 2 sons, and they pushed a wooden cart straight to the Lu house. When they walked through the gate, they saw Wang Xiumei stumbling out of the inner room with tears streaming down her face, red welts from a feather duster clearly visible on her neck. My mother-in-law spotted Tao Tsuehua and immediately soured. Years ago, she'd had her eye on Tao Tsuehwa's husband, but the man hadn't been interested in her. "What are you doing at my house, Tao Tsuehwa?" she snapped. Tao Tsuehwa was the village beauty. Everyone called her Village Flower. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and smiled. "I'm here to buy the sewing machine. Didn't you know? Your daughter-in-law is selling her dowry sewing machine." My mother-in-law's face turned the color of raw liver. My mother-in-law slapped her own thigh and started screaming. "Xiao Mandong, you heartless wretch. That sewing machine was bought after you came to the Liu family. How dare you sell it without asking? You already promised it to Liu Hong as her wedding dowry. Don't forget, you're still a daughter-in-law of this house." What I didn't know then but figured out later was that my father-in-law had told her to keep me under control. He wanted to call the army first and check if Liu Jiangwo's enlistment would go through. If the military spot fell through, they didn't want to lose a wife with a factory job too. His plan was to have Liu Jiangwo sweet-talk me and then force the wedding night on me. In my mother-in-law's mind, everything I owned still belonged to the Liu family. She lunged at me, but something had changed in me. I raised my hand and slapped her across the face with everything I had. That slap was for the old me, the woman who served this monster until she was in her 70s and never heard a single kind word. I'd recovered some strength by now, and I put all of it into that hit. Half her face swelled up instantly. She staggered back 2 steps, stunned. Then she went crazy and tried to claw at me. I dodged sideways. "Ma Laning, if you touch me today, tomorrow I go to the police. Try me. And don't talk about dowry, asking your daughter-in-law's things to give to your sister-in-law. Shameless. The sewing machine was bought with my own money and my own coupons after I married in. It has nothing to do with your family." I was careful not to mention the affair directly. I'd promised the chief I wouldn't spread it around. The truth would come out eventually, but it wouldn't come from my mouth. She looked into my cold eyes and finally came to her senses. Her husband had told her not to provoke me. She backed off. Tao Tsuehua was standing there frozen, jaw hanging open. The village bully had just been slapped by her own daughter-in-law and didn't hit back. And I'd called my mother-in-law by her full name instead of Mom. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Auntie Tsuehua, over here," I called. She snapped out of it and followed me to look at the sewing machine. It was practically new, and she couldn't stop running her hands over it. She was the best seamstress in the village, but had never owned a sewing machine. Her eyes were shining. Her family carefully lifted it onto the cart, and she counted out the money right in front of me. I counted it too, right there, while my mother-in-law watched with bloodshot eyes. "Mandong, anything else you want to sell?" Tao Tsuehua asked, hoping for another deal. "This wardrobe. It's part of my dowry too. 80 yuan. It's made of fine catalpa wood. Deal?" "Wait here, I'll run home and get more money." She turned to leave, but spotted the 2 chests by the bed. "What about those camphor wood chests? Are those for sale?" "Sorry, Auntie. Those were handmade by my grandfather. I'm keeping them. I'll need them when I go to the countryside." She clicked her tongue with disappointment, but ran home immediately. With the wardrobe, her son's wedding bedroom would have all 4 legs of furniture covered. Outside, a crowd had gathered to watch. One woman chased after Tao Tsuehua asking what was going on. Why was the Liu family selling their big wardrobe? A sewing machine was one thing, plenty of people couldn't use those. But a wardrobe like that, with beautiful carved flowers, that was a household essential. Everyone was jealous of Tao Tsuehua's luck. Tao Tsuehua just smiled and said nothing. She didn't know the full story either. All she knew was that she'd gotten an incredible bargain. But I was sure she'd be telling the whole village about how I slapped my mother-in-law before the night was over. After everything was carried away, I looked around my empty room and felt good. I put the money away safely, locked the door, and went to the kitchen. I made myself a bowl of wheat flour soup with 2 eggs dropped in. My mother-in-law watched from a distance, secretly thinking I was cooking for the whole family to make peace while pretending to be tough. She told herself that once the military enlistment came through, she'd make sure I could never come back even if I cried and begged. Her cheek was still burning. She swore she'd pay me back someday. And she was probably right that Tao Tsuehua was out there telling the whole village about the slap. She waited and waited, but I never called anyone to eat. When she went to the kitchen, the pot was already washed. I'd eaten by myself and hadn't cooked a single bite for any of them. That was the last straw for her today. She clutched her chest, gasping for air, then stormed over and kicked open Wang Xiumei's door. Get up and cook. Who do you think is going to do it? You think I'm here to serve you? You slut. She was taking out all the rage I'd given her on Wang Xiumei instead. Wang Xiumei didn't dare go back to her stepmother's house. Her mother-in-law had already taken all of the military death benefits. If she went home, her stepmother would just sell her off to another husband. She was a young widow. Who would want her? So she dragged her bruised body to the kitchen and cooked dinner for the family. She told herself that once she got pregnant with Lu Jiangwo's baby, her mother-in-law would never be able to push her around again. She and Lu Jianjun had been married 3 years. He was often away on missions, and though he was enthusiastic every time he came home, she'd never gotten pregnant.
She didn't know why.
I went back to my room with a full stomach and started planning my next moves. Day 1 of my new life, and I'd already given myself a good start. I needed to write a letter to my brother and tell him to send all future mail to our second sister's address instead. After the divorce, I'd go check on him. In my last life, he died suddenly, and I had to find out what really happened. I fell asleep turning plans over in my mind. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a loud crash. My mother-in-law had crept into Lu Jiangwo's room in the dark, whispering his name like a ghost. He'd been spooked all day by what I said about his dead brother coming for him. He was sleeping face down with his rear end up in the air, the only position that didn't hurt, and when he looked up and saw his mother's face lit by the dim oil lamp, he thought he was seeing a spirit. He screamed and fell right off the bed, slamming onto the floor. I pressed my ear to the crack of my door and listened. I was worried the Lu family might try something. Mom, are you trying to kill me? My legs are hurt again. Lu Jiangwo whimpered. He couldn't stop thinking about what I'd said. Ever since he touched Wang Xiumei, nothing but bad luck. He shuddered. Maybe his dead brother really was watching. My mother-in-law looked at her battered son and felt terrible. She'd already lost one boy, and now the other had suffered all day. She lowered her voice. Listen, you're not divorced yet, so Mandong is still your wife. We can't let her walk out of here untouched.
You need to force the wedding night.
If she gets pregnant, she'll raise the baby for our family on her own. Even if she doesn't get pregnant, once she's no longer pure, no other man will want her. Then she'll have no choice but to stay and serve you without any title or status. And we can keep control of her job. Lu Jiangwo was already furious from the pain. His face turned red with shame and anger, and he hissed at her. How am I supposed to do that? I just fell again, and it hurts even worse now. Are you trying to kill me? Lu Jiangwo's words shut my mother-in-law down like a bucket of cold water. She stared at her son with worry. Maybe we should go to the hospital tomorrow. He waved her off. Just go to bed and stop bothering me. I was listening through the crack in my door. A cold smile crossed my face. What a rotten family. Their plan was to force themselves on me before the divorce went through. But heaven wasn't on their side. When you do enough evil, payback always comes. My mother-in-law went back to her room, but I knew she wasn't sleeping. She was thinking about the 180 yuan I'd gotten from selling the sewing machine and wardrobe, plus the 200 yuan dowry she'd have to return. The thought of losing all that money was eating her alive. She'd always believed that since I was a capitalist's daughter, I must be hiding valuables somewhere. She'd searched my room before and found nothing, but she couldn't accept letting me walk away clean. In her mind, everything I owned belonged to the Lu family the moment I married in. She wasn't going to let me off easy. The next morning, she went straight to the town hospital to find her niece, Xiao Tingting, who worked in the hospital's back office. She wanted to ask whether a doctor could really tell if two people had been together, the bluff I'd used to scare them. Xiao Tingting took her to the gynecology department. The doctor's answer made my mother-in-law collapse into her chair. No, there was no way to test for that. I had tricked them. She was furious. Her head went blank with rage, and she marched straight to the commune office. If she couldn't stop me from leaving, she'd at least destroy my reputation. And no matter what, She was determined to keep either my dowry money or my factory job. Her younger daughter needed work. The commune office had barely opened its doors when she threw herself inside, sat on the ground, slapped her thighs, and started wailing at the top of her lungs. Leaders, save us. My family is cursed. My new daughter-in-law has been sleeping around, and now she wants to steal our property and run. You can't let a woman like this get away with it. Her voice was sharp enough to cut glass. A crowd gathered fast, onlookers and commune workers alike. She cried even harder when she saw the audience. She tore into my character, painting me as the worst woman alive. Then she pulled out Liu Jianjun's military martyr certificate. My eldest son died for this country. And now my younger son married this kind of woman, bringing shame to our family. I'm begging the commune to give us justice. People in those days had deep respect for military martyrs. The crowd turned angry on my behalf. Angry at me, that is. They believed every word she said. The commune leader realized this wasn't just a family matter anymore. If it wasn't handled well, it could damage the trust of every military family in the area. When he found out it was the family of Liu Jianjun, the same family they were planning to visit that very day for condolences, he sent someone immediately to Kaoshan village to bring me and the village cadres to the commune. I had just finished breakfast when the village chief rushed over, looking panicked. When he told me what happened, I actually laughed. Chief, don't blame me for this. You saw it yourself. They're the ones who decided to blow it up. The chief was speechless. He couldn't believe how stupid Ma Laniying was. He'd searched the whole village for my father-in-law but couldn't find him anywhere. At the commune, my mother-in-law started screaming at me the moment she saw my face. The insults were vicious. I let my eyes go red and put on a look of hurt and helplessness. I didn't argue with her. I simply handed the guarantee letter to the commune leader. Sir, yesterday I caught them in the act. My sister-in-law's undergarment was still on the bed. My husband was injured because he panicked trying to get away. The village barefoot doctor can confirm everything. Today they've decided enough time has passed, and they want to deny it all. The leader read the guarantee letter and frowned. If none of it was true, why would the whole family sign a written confession? Then I glanced at Xiao Tingting, who had come along with my mother-in-law. Everything clicked. Sir, you might want to send someone to the hospital's gynecology department. I'm sure my kind mother-in-law visited there this morning to ask whether they can medically prove two people have been together. My mother-in-law's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected me to figure that out. The commune leader was a man of action. He immediately sent someone to check. Xiao Tingting panicked. She was only a temporary worker at the hospital, not even permanent staff yet. If the leadership found out she'd helped her aunt try to cover up an affair. Wait, don't go to the hospital. I can confirm it, Xiao Tingting blurted out. She did ask that question. And the answer is no, it can't be tested. The commune leader understood everything now. The family had gone to the hospital, found out my bluff couldn't be verified, and immediately came running to the commune to deny everything and attack me. Using a martyr's name to cover up their own filth, it was disgraceful. My mother-in-law saw the look on the leader's face and instantly regretted everything. She'd come here without telling her husband. Lu Bingshan was going to kill her. Just as the thought crossed her mind, she saw him rushing through the gate. He'd been at the post office calling the army about the enlistment. When he got back to the village and heard that the cadres had taken me to the commune, he ran straight there. He could hear people gossiping from down the road. He was livid. The army had just told him they'd sent someone to begin the background investigation and to wait patiently. And now this idiot woman had blown the whole thing wide open. He stormed up and slapped Ma Laniying across the face. He was trying to shift all the blame onto her and pull attention away from himself. But she was so scared her legs went weak, and the slap sent her crashing to the ground. Her head hit a rock, and blood started flowing. He panicked and rushed her to the hospital. I seized the moment. Sir, this family is terrifying. I can't spend one more day living under the same roof as these people. I'm requesting an immediate divorce. The commune leader had seen the guarantee letter, heard about Liu Jiangwo's injuries, and now witnessed the family's violence with his own eyes. He ordered the civil affairs officer to go verify the facts right away. If necessary, They'd go to the village and have Lu Jiangwo sign the papers there. A family like this didn't deserve mediation. Dragging things out would only put me in danger. 2 civil affairs officers followed the village cadres back to Kaoshan village. They spoke with the barefoot doctor, saw my room where the evidence hadn't been cleaned up, and made their final determination. Lu Jiangwo was forced to sign the divorce papers. His father had told him to wait until he recovered, to stall until they heard back about the military enlistment. He was afraid that if the army spot fell through and he'd also lost a wife with a 38 yuan monthly salary and a comfortable office job, he'd have nothing. But his plans were all ruined now. The commune had to report the incident to higher authorities. The secret the village chief had tried to keep was out in the open. He was furious, but since the commune already knew, there was no point hiding it anymore. The news spread through all of Kaoshan village like wildfire. I held the divorce certificate in my hands and stared at the red official stamp. It felt like a thick shell of mud that had been suffocating my heart for decades had finally cracked open. I could breathe again. More than anything, it was relief. Heavy, bone-deep relief, like finally setting down a weight I'd carried for a lifetime. I folded the certificate carefully and tucked it into my inner pocket, close to my chest. The divorce was just the beginning. From here on, I would walk forward one step at a time, steady and fierce. Everything I lost in my past life, everything that was stolen from me, I was going to take it all back. I walked through the Lu family gate with the divorce certificate in my pocket and heard a crash from inside. I ran in and found Wang Xiaomei and Lu Hong, my sister-in-law, digging through my camphor wood chests. The lock was already bent out of shape, and the bed mat was flipped everywhere. "What are you doing?" I shouted. Lu Hong yanked her hands back, eyes darting around. It was her, not me. This little sister-in-law of mine looked innocent enough, but she was rotten underneath. In my past life, she'd cheated me out of plenty. This whole scheme was definitely her idea. Wang Xiaomei stared at Lu Hong in disbelief. It was Lu Hong who had dragged her here, saying I had a beautiful silver ring, and they needed to find it. Wang Xiaomei had only come because Lu Hong threatened her. After yesterday's disaster, she would never have come near me willingly. Lu Hong grabbed my arm, putting on a sweet act, tears welling up. "Sister Mandong, it was sister-in-law's idea. She heard about your pretty silver ring and wanted to see it. I know I was wrong to go through your things. Please don't be angry. I really do like that ring though. Could you sell it to me?" "Name your price." "That's a lie," Wang Xiaomei snapped. "I didn't even know about any ring. You're the one who said you've wanted it since you first saw it. You dragged me along. Don't you dare blame this on me." "Shut up. One more word, and I'll tell Mom to send you back to your stepmother's house," Lu Hong hissed. Wang Xiaomei swallowed her words, her face turning green. She was breathing hard, biting her lip until it went white. If she had a decent family to go back to, she wouldn't be fighting to stay at the Lu house. "Sister Mandong, where's the ring?" "Sell it to me, please." Lu Hong couldn't explain why, but from the very first time she saw that ring hanging around my neck, she'd been obsessed with it. She'd even stolen it from me in the middle of the night once. I'd fought to get it back, and Lu Jiangwo had promised her he'd eventually get me to hand it over as a gift. Now that we were divorcing, she knew I'd never give it to her. She'd come to steal it, and she'd gotten caught. Then she spotted the red cord around my neck. She lunged and grabbed it. The cord snapped, but I clamped my right hand around her wrist and snatched the ring into my left palm. "Lu Hong, do you want to go to prison for robbery? Because that's where you're headed if I report this." She dropped the act completely, teeth bared. "Xiao Mandong, if you don't give me that ring, I'll report you to the commune. You're a capitalist. All your family's property should have been confiscated. You're hiding assets. They'll send you to a labor camp. Go right ahead. Your family helped cover up my class status, so your brother could marry me. If I go down, we all go down together." I shoved her away. She stumbled and nearly fell. "You," she pointed at me, shaking with rage, unable to find words. "Lu Hong, I've always treated you like a little sister. I was actually planning to sell you my factory job before I leave for the countryside, 38 yuan a month, an office position. But now I see you're just as rotten as the rest of them." I pushed both of them out and locked the door. Lu Hong stood outside in a daze. Then my words hit her.
The job. I was willing to sell my job.
She forgot all about the ring and ran off to find her mother. Jobs were almost impossible to get. You couldn't buy one even if you had the money. And mine was a comfortable office position. She needed to talk to her mother immediately. I watched her run off through the window and smiled. My cotton mill would shut down in 1979. That meant whoever bought my job would only get about 4 years of wages. Even the severance pay would be tiny with so little seniority. Since Lu Hong loved scheming so much, I'd let her scheme herself right into a dead end. The chest lock was damaged, but not completely broken. I picked up a tool from the floor to fix it, and a nail stabbed right into my hand. I grabbed the ring and headed for the door to wash the wound. The moment I stepped forward, the world shifted. I was standing somewhere completely unfamiliar. I panicked. It was a circular space with no walls, bordered by some invisible barrier I couldn't pass through. The edges were decorated with patterns identical to those on my ring. I searched for an exit and found nothing. My heart pounded. I hadn't even saved my family yet, and now I was trapped in some strange place. I wanted desperately to go back. The instant that thought formed in my mind, I was standing in my room again. I sat down on the bed and stared at the ring in my hand. My blood was smeared on its surface. Then it hit me. In my previous life, my neighbor had shown me how to read novels on her phone. My favorites were always rebirth stories, heroines who got second chances, who discovered magical spaces and spirit springs, who activated ancient treasures by dripping blood on them.
Could it be?
Had heaven given me not just a second life, but a golden finger too? Was the ring activated by my blood? With my heart hammering, I thought the word space in my mind. I was inside again. I tried going back and forth several times. I could enter and leave freely. I quickly found a new cord and hung the ring around my neck again. But as it rested against my chest, it slowly disappeared, sinking into my skin as if melting into my flesh and blood. I sat on the bed grinning like a fool. I'd been too panicked before to actually look around. I went back in to explore properly. The patterns lining the space matched the ring's engravings exactly. Inside was a lush green meadow. Several garden plots grew vegetables, melons, and fruits nearby. On the left stood 4 rooms in a row, each with a sign on the door: bedroom, study, medicine room, and warehouse. On the right side was a stone well. The words, "Spirit Spring Water," were carved into the stone beside it. The bedroom was a full suite, a wardrobe, bedding, everything you'd need. It connected to a bathroom with running water and a kitchen stocked with pots, pans, bowls, and utensils. The study was packed floor to ceiling with medical texts. My grandfather's family had been traditional Chinese medicine practitioners for generations. I'd grown up watching and learning. These books contained medical knowledge that would be considered priceless, the kind of secrets that had been lost to the world. The warehouse made my jaw drop. Row after row of shelves, neatly stocked with rice, flour, cooking oil, daily necessities, toiletries. The medicine room held ginseng, deer antler, lingzhi mushroom, saffron, cordyceps, natural ox gallstones, rhinoceros horn, treasures beyond imagination. My heart was racing so fast I could barely stand. I lay down on the big bed inside the space, unable to calm down. I was grinning so wide my face hurt. With the space, my family, and I could live well no matter where we were. Some of these things couldn't be brought out yet. I'd have to wait until the reform era began. But knowing they were here, waiting for me, changed everything. I tested whether I could move things in and out with just my thoughts. It worked. I pulled out a cucumber from the garden and bit into it, sweet, crisp, and refreshing. After eating it, my whole body felt lighter. My hand was still bleeding, so I decided to test the Spirit Spring water. I found a cup in the warehouse, filled it from the well, and poured it over my wound. The pain faded instantly. The water felt cool and soothing. I took a sip. It was clean and sweet, and a wave of comfort spread through my entire body. The heavy, sluggish feeling from my weak constitution lifted noticeably. This ring was originally meant for my mother. But I was sickly as a child, and my grandmother believed old heirlooms could protect the young. She took it back from my mother and put it around my neck when I was small. In my previous life, Lu Jiangwo had secretly given this ring to Lu Hong. After that, Lu Hong went abroad and became wildly successful. I couldn't help wondering now, had the space had something to do with her good fortune? Lu Hong ran like a madwoman to find her mother in the fields, but Ma Lanying wasn't there. The squad leader told her that both her parents had gone to the hospital. Lu Hong was so fixated on getting my job that she didn't even bother asking why her mother was at the hospital. She thought about going there, but was afraid they'd cross paths and she'd waste the trip. So she sat under a willow tree at the village entrance and waited, slapping mosquitoes off her arms all afternoon. My mother-in-law had gotten her head bandaged at the hospital and wanted to hurry home, but they'd missed the noon ox cart and had to wait for the afternoon one. She kept her distance from my father-in-law the whole time. His face was dark as a storm cloud, and she knew better than to get close. He hadn't hit her in years, but today she'd given him plenty of reason. When the cart finally arrived that evening, it was full of people, so Lu Hong couldn't say what she wanted to say. The moment they stepped through the front gate, she pulled her mother into a room. "Mom, Xiao Mandong is going to sell her factory job. It's an office position, 38 yuan a month, plus grain coupons and cloth coupons. It's an iron rice bowl." Ma Laning's eyes went wide before Lu Hong even finished. "She said that? She married into the Lu family. That job belongs to us. Who said she gets to sell it?" In her mind, the job was perfect for her daughter. With a steady government position, Lu Hong could marry a city man and command a high bride price. Lu Hong's eyes lit up too. "Right? I wasn't divorced yet. The job was Lu family property. If I didn't want it anymore, just hand it over. We were family. Wanting to sell, it was typical capitalist behavior." What neither of them knew was that the divorce was already done. The civil affairs officers had come that very day, and Lu Jiangwo had signed the papers. He thought the actual certificate would come later, when he could walk. But the commune had issued them on the spot. I had mine in my pocket. Lu Jiangwo's copy had been given to the village chief to deliver. Ma Laning remembered how I'd sold the sewing machine right out from under her. Terrified I'd sell the job too, she marched straight to my door and started pounding. I was inside the space, reading medical texts in the study. The knocking startled me, so the space let me hear sounds from the outside. I put down the book, stepped out, opened the door, and found my mother-in-law standing there with a fake smile plastered on her face. "Mandong dear, you look a little pale. Mom made you some brown sugar water." She held a cup toward me. I didn't take it. I wasn't about to drink anything from this family. I was leaving tomorrow, and who knew what they might put in it? Seeing my cold face, she didn't miss a beat. She pulled the cup back and switched to her next act. "We've lived together for a year now. Things got a little unpleasant recently, but that was all Wang Xiumei's fault. I'll cook you something nice tonight. Don't hold a grudge against Jiangwo. Men make mistakes. Be the bigger person and let it go. Stop performing," I said with a laugh. "Just say what you want." This family had no shame at all. That morning she'd been screaming at me in front of the commune, and now she was acting like we were best friends. "Well, Lu Hong told me you're thinking of selling your job. Jobs are so hard to find these days. Once you sell it, you'll never get another one. Why don't you just let Lu Hong take over? If you ever want to work again, she can give it back." She said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. Get the job first, and whether it ever comes back, well, that would be a different conversation entirely. "I'm already divorced from your son," I said flatly. "Why would I give you my job? We're not family anymore. We're not even acquaintances. This job pays 38 yuan a month. It's a real iron rice bowl. Market price is 5 years' salary, 2,280 yuan. Since Lu Hong and I got along decently enough, I'll round it down to 2,000. If you agree, we can do the paperwork tomorrow." I wasn't going to waste time going back and forth. We weren't just strangers now, we were enemies. If killing weren't a crime, I'd have wiped out this entire household. Lu Hong nearly choked. 2,000 yuan, and I'd said it like I was doing her a favor. "Xiao Mandong, you're a daughter-in-law of the Lu family. Everything you have belongs to the Lu family, your job, even you yourself. Don't forget, Your whole family was sent down for re-education. It was our family that married you and saved you from that fate. You should be grateful instead of acting like this. Ma Lanying hadn't even registered the word, divorced. All she heard was, 2,000 yuan, and she lost her mind. When I didn't respond, she took my silence as proof she was winning. She decided today was the day she'd finally put me in my place. All that obedience before the wedding, obviously just an act. Time to teach me what it meant to be a proper daughter-in-law. Your family clearly failed to raise you right. Let me show you what filial piety looks like. She grabbed the feather duster and swung it at me. Through the crack in the door, I could see Wang Xiaomei watching with glee. I'd caused her a beating yesterday, and now she was thrilled to see me about to get one. But I grabbed the smug Lu Hong and pulled her in front of me. The feather duster cracked across Lu Hong's arm instead. A red welt swelled up instantly. Lu Hong screamed and hopped around. Ma Lanying had put real force behind that swing. You little wretch. How dare you dodge? You're truly evil. Ma Lanying was furious that I'd used her daughter as a shield. She'd never laid a finger on Lu Hong in her life. She pushed Lu Hong aside and raised the duster again. What's going on now? The village chief walked through the door. He took one look at Ma Lanying with the bandage wrapped around her head and sighed with exhaustion. This woman was hopeless. My father-in-law had been listening from his room the entire time. He'd been happy to let Ma Lanying beat me. A good thrashing might make me more obedient, and it wasn't proper for father-in-law to hit his son's wife himself. But now the chief had shown up again. He stumbled out pretending he'd just woken up from a nap.
Chief.
Accountant's son. Welcome, welcome. Please sit down. He was bowing and scraping, terrified. He knew the family scandal at the commune would hurt the village's award chances, and the last thing he needed was more trouble with the village leadership. Ma Lanying, what are you doing now? Go make the chief and accountant's son some brown sugar water, he snapped at his wife, pretending to scold her. Ma Lanying grabbed Lu Hong and scurried to the kitchen. The village chief handed my father-in-law a piece of paper. He opened it and froze. It was Lu Jiangwo's divorce certificate. He'd been planning to let the divorce happen eventually, but only after the military enlistment was confirmed. If the army spot fell through, and the divorce was already done, he'd have lost everything for nothing. But the chief explained it clearly. The commune sent investigators. Everything Comrade Xiao Mandong said was confirmed. To protect women's rights, the civil affairs officer came to your home today and had Lu Jiangwo sign the divorce agreement. The commune issued the certificates immediately. Starting today, Xiao Mandong is no longer a member of the Lu family. If anyone here lays a hand on her again, it's no longer a family matter. She can report it to the police. Then the chief handed me another paper, my transfer notice for the countryside. Mandong, pack your things. Tomorrow I'll send an ox cart to take your belongings to Red Flag Commune. I thanked him and apologized for the trouble. He'd arranged my marriage with good intentions. Nobody had bad person written on their face. It wasn't his fault things turned out this way. In my previous life, he'd helped me many times when the Lu family mistreated me. I owed him gratitude, and I wouldn't forget it. My mother-in-law had never actually made the brown sugar water she'd been sent to prepare. She'd been in the kitchen eavesdropping, her heart racing. If the divorce was finalized, could they still claim my job? Return Comrade Xiao Mandong's 200 yuan dowry, the chief said. It's written clearly in the agreement. My father-in-law forced a smile through clenched teeth and called for Ma Lanying to bring the money. She dragged her feet, fussing around in the bedroom forever before finally shuffling out with the cash. I took the money, wrote a receipt, and slipped it into my pocket, actually sending it straight into the space with my thoughts. The chief offered to let me sleep at his house that night, sharing a room with his youngest daughter. I politely declined. I didn't want to impose. Besides, I had the space now. After the chief and accountant left, my father-in-law stopped me before I could go back to my room. Mandong, back when your family was in trouble, I took pity on you. I agreed to this marriage, so you wouldn't be sent down with the rest of them. Your father said as long as we kept you safe, that 200 yuan was compensation for our family. Now that you don't need our protection anymore, you kick us aside and take back the money too? That's not right. You know exactly why this marriage ended. I said. If your memory is bad, go ask the commune. As for the 200 yuan, it was given through the matchmaker as a bride price. Go ask the matchmaker what that money was for. And about my job, if you think it's too expensive, I can sell it to someone else. Jobs are scarce right now. Plenty of people want mine. Ma Laniying opened her mouth, but Lu Hong pulled her back and turned to me with a flattering smile. Sister Mandong, could you lower the price a little? We don't have that much money at home. I knew exactly how much money the Lu family had. Lu Jianjun had died on a special mission, and the military paid 1,500 yuan in death benefits. Ma Laniying had kept every cent, not giving Wang Xiaomei a single penny since she hadn't produced an heir for Lu Jianjun. The Lu family could afford my price.
No discount.
Think it over. Xiao Mandong, Ma Laniying cut in, you're a divorced capitalist's daughter going to the countryside alone. Nobody will have your back. Do you think life will be easy? If you're smart, you'll stay on good terms with us. When things get too hard at the youth camp, maybe we'll take you back in. Why burn every bridge? 500 yuan for the job, that's plenty. If you walk around with too much cash in a youth dormitory, someone might steal it. We're only looking out for you. I actually laughed. Looking out for me? A 2,000 yuan job for 500 is looking out for me? I can't afford your kind of kindness. Not 1 cent less than 2,000. If you want it, bring the money. I went back to my room. Even after living through one lifetime of their shamelessness, they still managed to make my blood boil. I locked the door and started packing. Tomorrow, I was leaving for good. I moved everything valuable into the space and left only my 2 camphor wood chests with some old clothes inside, enough to look normal. On the other side of the wall, the 4 of them were debating whether to buy the job. My father-in-law smoked his pipe in silence for a long time, then finally spoke.
Buy it.
If we're short on cash, borrow the rest. If Zheng Wo gets into the army, the job goes to Lu Hong. She can marry well and get the money back through the bride price. If the army doesn't work out, the job goes to Zheng Wo. He'll need it to find a new wife. Why should it go to him? Lu Hong snapped. That money is from my eldest brother's death benefits. I'll agree to paying for the job with my future bride price, but if Zheng Wo can't join the army, why should I hand it over? Then go find 2,000 yuan yourself. I won't stop you, my father-in-law said, giving her a cold sideways look. Lu Hong bit her lip and glared at him. If she had money, she wouldn't be begging the family. She gave in, silently praying that Lu Zhengwo's enlistment would go through. Lu Zhengwo said nothing the whole time. It was summer, and the sweat stung the blisters on his back. The swelling down below had gone down a little, but still hurt. His biggest fear was permanent damage. If things didn't work properly anymore, what kind of life would he have? He couldn't care less about the job. The next morning, my father-in-law went door to door with his tobacco pipe, humbly borrowing money from 7 different families. He scraped together 200 yuan in loans, added the 1,500 in death benefits and 300 from the family savings, and came up with exactly 2,000. An hour later, he showed up at the village office with a black face and the whole family in tow. The village accountant wrote up the transfer agreement, with me dictating every word. Xiao Mandong voluntarily transfers her position at the cotton mill to Lu Hong. Monthly salary: 38 yuan. Any future changes to salary due to factory restructuring are unrelated to Xiao Mandong. I deliberately left out the part about it being an office position. There was no way I was letting Lu Hong sit comfortably at a desk. I told Lu Hong to come to the factory that afternoon. I needed to go there first and speak with the management. I took the signed agreement and headed to the cotton mill ahead of them. Director Lu's son also worked at the factory. He had health problems and sometimes needed to switch between day and night shifts. In my previous life, when I was bullied because of my class status, Director Lu had stood up for me many times. This life, I wanted to repay that kindness. The moment I walked through the factory gate, I heard the whispers. A group of women were pointing at me and talking behind their hands. This was nothing new. Ever since people found out about my class background, I'd been a target. An outsider with a desk job, a capitalist's daughter who was too pretty for her own good. They'd never stop talking. Look at her in those tight clothes. Shameless. How else do you think she got an office job? Obviously, she seduced a factory leader. She took a few days off for her wedding and came back walking different. You know what I mean? Her husband's probably wearing a green hat already. In my past life, I'd pretended not to hear any of it. I was ashamed of my own background and didn't think I had the right to fight back. But now I'd lived a whole lifetime and died once already. I wasn't swallowing anyone's poison anymore. Besides, I was about to leave this place for good. But first I wanted to make sure these lovely ladies would give my dear sister-in-law Lu Hong a proper welcome. I walked straight up to the one talking the loudest and slapped her across the face. It happened so fast, she didn't even register it. She stood there holding her cheek, staring at me in disbelief. Me, the quiet one who'd never said a word back in an entire year. You hit me? You little tramp. I'll tear your face off. It was Chu Xian, the factory accountant's wife. She was a heavy-set woman with a mean face. Her father ran a canned goods factory, and her husband had gotten his job through her family's connections. The accountant was a creep who spent all day eyeing young women in the factory and telling Chu Xian how ugly she was at home. So Chu Xian treated every halfway attractive woman at the mill as a personal enemy. She reached for my face with her claws out. I kicked her in the stomach. She stumbled backward and sat down hard on the ground. For someone her size, she had no strength at all. She clutched her belly, cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. Her friends rushed in. How can you hit people? We were just telling the truth. Aren't you a capitalist's daughter? This is outrageous. A capitalist attacking the masses. We're reporting this to the leadership. You're all standing here, lying through your teeth, I said, sweeping my gaze across each of them. Spreading slander about a female comrade isn't free speech. It's a crime. Are you all completely ignorant of the law? I can report every one of you. Chu Xian struggled to her feet and lunged again. You wretch. Your whole family deserved to be sent down. But someone grabbed her arm before she could reach me. What's going on here? Don't you all have work to do? It was Director Lu. She'd heard at the gate that I was in a fight and had come running, expecting to find me beaten up. Instead, she found Chu Xian with a handprint on her face. She looked almost relieved. The quiet cat had finally scratched back. Director Lu, I said calmly, these women have been spreading sexual rumors about me. They're saying I slept with factory leaders to get my position. I was hired through proper procedures. I have nothing to hide. But if this kind of rumor gets out, it won't just hurt me. It'll drag every leader in this factory under investigation. People will wonder if all our leaders got their positions by trading favors. I have to say, I'm starting to suspect that Comrade Chu Xian might be an enemy agent, deliberately creating internal conflict to undermine the unity of our cotton mill. The crowd went dead silent. The moment I said enemy agent, every single person shut their mouth. Nobody wanted to be anywhere near that label. Chu Xian's legs started shaking. Her voice came out trembling. You're making things up. You're just a capitalist's daughter. You're framing me. You accused her of seducing leaders. Isn't that framing? Director Lu cut in, swatting Chu Xian's pointing finger away from my face. Did any of you actually see her do anything inappropriate?
Give me the place and time.
If you have evidence, I'll personally send her to the Revolutionary Committee for investigation. If you don't have evidence, then you deserve every slap you got. Spreading sexual rumors about a female comrade. You should be ashamed. We just heard it from other people. Everyone says it. Chu Xian mumbled. Who says it? Let's find the source today and send them to the police station. Director Lu snapped. They all hung their heads. Nobody could name the original source. It had started as gossip about my class background and snowballed into something filthy over time. They'd treated it as entertainment. The work bell rang. Director Lu gave Chu Xian one last glare. Stop believing every piece of gossip you hear. Keep your mouth under control. If I catch anyone spreading rumors and damaging comrade unity again, I'll issue formal disciplinary action. Now get back to work. Chu Xian bit her lip and left, seething but silent. After everyone was gone, Director Lu smiled and patted my hand. That's right. When someone bullies you, fight back. No need to suffer in silence. Sister Lu, thank you. Actually, I came to talk to you about something. I pulled out the job transfer agreement and handed it to her. She opened it, read it, and looked up at me, confused and worried. Mandong, listen, I know I'm not your business, but you can't give up this job. It's your security. Those women can talk all they want. Don't let their gossip push you out. She thought I'd finally found my spine, only to discover I was quitting because of the bullying. It's not because of them, Sister Lu. My younger sister is working alone in the countryside, and I'm worried about her. I need to go be with her. I've already sold this job. The buyer is coming this afternoon for the transfer. But I wanted to do something first. Your son Jiaoyang, his health isn't good. Working overtime and switching between shifts is wearing him down. I'd like to give him my office position. The person who bought my job can go work in the spinning workshop instead. The transfer agreement doesn't specify the type of position. Director Lu could barely believe what she was hearing. Her son had come home from overtime the night before looking so pale it scared her. She'd wanted him to quit, but he refused, saying a grown man couldn't just sit at home and eat for free. She was torn between heartache and helplessness. But she was also a good person. Mandong, think this over. Giving up a job like this is a real loss. Office positions are almost impossible to get. I've already made up my mind. My transfer to the countryside is finalized. This is what I want, Sister Lu. When the buyer comes this afternoon, just tell her she'll be starting a 3-month probation in the spinning workshop before becoming permanent. The agreement doesn't mention the job type, so there's no issue. This was my way of repaying Director Lu for looking after me in my previous life. She thanked me over and over, and I left to handle my remaining business, a trip to the post office to mail a letter to my brother. Meanwhile, Lu Hong was beside herself with excitement. She dressed up in her best outfit, grabbed her household registration booklet and savings book, and headed to the cotton mill. Wang Xiumei was sent to accompany her since my father-in-law didn't like going out in public. My mother-in-law's head was wrapped in bandages, and Lu Jiangwo couldn't even get off the bed. The whole way there, Lu Hong walked with her chin in the air, bragging to every villager they passed about her new factory job, daydreaming about marrying a city man and eating government-supplied grain. But nobody paid her any attention. All eyes were on Wang Xiumei. People whispered as they passed. Isn't that Jianjun's wife? I heard she's with Jiangwo now. Got him divorced and everything. Is this one of those brother inherits brother's widow situations? Look at her though, walking around like she's carrying 2 steamed buns in her shirt. No wonder Jiangwo forgot about brotherly loyalty, and that rear end swaying side to side. Her hips are about to fall off. Wang Xiumei kept her head down and said nothing, gripping her shirt hems so hard her knuckles were white, her face burning red. After leaving the post office, I went straight to the supply store. I was heading to Red Flag Brigade that evening, and I wanted to buy some things for my sister. 2 lifetimes had passed since I'd seen her. My heart ached with both longing and guilt. In my previous life, I never got to see her at the end. I couldn't imagine how desperate and alone she must have felt. Wang Xiumei, I swore I would make that woman pay for what she did. I bought a new thermos, 2 pounds of egg cake, puffed rice sticks, white rabbit candies, peach cookies, brown sugar, 2 packs of Dakiaman cigarettes, and 2 bottles of Maotai liquor. In a new place, you need to grease some wheels. I found a quiet spot where nobody could see me and put everything into the space. For lunch I ate at the state-run restaurant, and before leaving I bought 6 steamed buns and stored them in the space too, dinner for me and my sister. When I got back to the factory, I spotted Wang Xiumei and Lu Hong waiting at the gate. I walked up to Lu Hong. Do you have the money ready? Of course I do. Let's go in. She lifted her chin like she was already the boss. I looked at her thin outfit and the little blue cloth bag in her hand. 2,000 yuan in 10 yuan bills was a thick stack. That bag was clearly empty. Lu Hong, if you don't actually want to buy, let's just forget it. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. I can't carry that much cash on me. I have a bank book. We'll go withdraw it after the paperwork. I shook her off and kept walking.
Fine.
Such a capitalist attitude. We'll get the money first. She rolled her eyes dramatically. Apparently today was the day she discovered I wasn't a pushover. I went with them to the bank. They withdrew 1,500 yuan. Lu Hong clutched the cloth bag against her chest like her life depended on it. She and Wang Xiumei practically jogged to the factory gate. Neither of them had ever held that much money before, and they were terrified. Director Liu had already spoken with the factory director and the personnel department. The paperwork went through smoothly. Lu Hong came back from the bathroom and reluctantly pulled the remaining 500 yuan from inside her clothes. Combined with the bank withdrawal, she counted out the full 2,000 and handed it over. I counted every bill carefully, then slipped the money into the space behind my bamboo basket where nobody could see. Lu Hong stared at that basket like she wanted to burn a hole through it. 2,000 yuan, 5 years of wages, gone just like that. But then she reminded herself she was about to have an iron rice bowl, and her spirits lifted. That happiness lasted about 3 minutes. You're a new hire, so you'll start as a temporary worker in the spinning workshop, the personnel chief told her. 3 months of probation. If you perform well, you'll be made permanent. If not, no conversion. Lu Hong's voice shot up an octave.
What?
I bought a statistician's position. Why am I going to the spinning workshop? Her face twisted with rage. She wanted a nice desk job, not a factory floor. I pulled her aside. Every factory makes new hires do 3 months before becoming permanent. You're smart. You're not worried you can't handle it, are you? Of course I can handle it. She yanked her arm free. How dare I suggest otherwise? Let me introduce you to some people. It helps to know a few faces when you're starting out. She agreed. She was walking into a place full of strangers. The first person I introduced her to was the factory accountant, the old lecher. How could I not let Lu Hong get acquainted with him right away? Lu Hong was reasonably pretty and young. She was exactly his type, and Chu Xian would hate her on sight. The accountant greeted Lu Hong warmly, but I noticed his eyes kept drifting to Wang Xiumei. So I did the sisterly thing and introduced her to Accountant Zhao. This is my widowed sister-in-law. I made sure to emphasize the word widowed. My eldest brother just passed away. My sister-in-law is looking for work. If any temporary positions open up at the factory, please keep her in mind. I had to admit, Wang Xiumei was attractive. She had the look of a mature woman, which was exactly why Lu Jiangwo had lost his mind over her, and why Lu Jianjun had married her despite her poor family background and taken her to live at the military base. The accountant's eyes locked onto Wang Xiumei. When he heard the word widow, his grin widened. He preferred widows to unmarried girls, less risky, cheaper to please, and they didn't cause the same kind of trouble. My goal accomplished, I took them to the workshop floor. Next introduction, Chu Xian, the woman I'd slapped that morning. Then the rest of the gossip crew. With Director Liu walking behind us, they didn't dare show their true colors. They all smiled and greeted Lu Hong warmly. Director Liu saw exactly what I was doing. She gave me a look that said, when a quiet person decides to get revenge, most people don't stand a chance. The personnel department told Lu Hong to report for work next Monday. As Lu Hong and Wang Xiumei were leaving, Wang Xiumei felt eyes on her back. She turned around and caught the accountant watching her from across the yard. She remembered that I'd asked him to help her find temporary work. Thinking he might be useful in the future, she smiled and gave him a polite nod. That smile was spotted by Chu Xian, whose eyes instantly filled with hatred and jealousy. If this widow dared go after her husband, she'd rip her face off. The accountant's heart was pounding. His head was already filled with images of the young widow that had nothing to do with job openings. After they left, Director Liu called me to her office and handed me an envelope. Inside was 200 yuan and a collection of coupons, cloth coupons, cotton coupons, and even an industrial coupon. I knew how hard these were to get. She'd clearly put real effort into gathering ones I could actually use in the countryside. Mandong, you'll need a lot of coupons out there. We have a big family, and I don't have much cash, but I got you what I could. If you need more, let me know and I'll try to trade for them. I didn't pretend to be polite. I genuinely needed these things. Sister Lu, thank you. This really helps. I won't be shy about it. I was in a hurry to get back to the village, so I said goodbye and left. Back home, I went straight to the village chief and quietly slipped him a pack of Dakiamin cigarettes. He tried to refuse, but we were standing in the open, and he didn't want people to see us awkwardly wrestling over a gift. He took it. He shook his head with a sigh. A hardworking girl with a good job, capable hands, and a pretty face, and the Liu family had thrown her away. They'd regret it someday. The chief found 2 men to help load my things onto the ox cart. My mother-in-law stood watching from the doorway, stamping her feet in fury. The thick cotton quilt, the enamel wash basin, the camphor wood chests, all things that had entered the Liu household. In her mind, they belonged to the Liu family. How dare I take them? She'd fallen in love with the big red peony painted on that basin the first time she saw it. And the enamel mug without a single chip, practically brand new. She watched it all get loaded onto the cart and couldn't do a thing. Liu Jiangwo watched my back from the window. I could feel his stare, full of regret and resentment mixed together. He was probably thinking I should have been more forgiving, that he was my savior for marrying me and keeping me from being sent down, that I was biting the hand that fed me. He told himself he'd never give me the chance to come crawling back. The village chief walked me to the cart, his face heavy with guilt. Mandong, the party secretary at Red Flag Brigade, is my cousin. If you need help with anything, go to him. I've already let him know. And if you run into problems you can't solve, come back to me anytime. This is all my fault for not seeing those people clearly. Uncle Chief, don't say that. I wasn't sent down compared to what my family went through. I'm doing fine. I should be thanking you for all the help you've given me this past year. None of this is your fault. In my previous life, the only person to blame was myself for never standing up. I could see the weight lift from his shoulders when I said those words. The guilt he'd been carrying eased a little, and I was glad. He was a good man, and good men shouldn't carry burdens that belong to someone else. The ox cart took about half an hour to reach Red Flag Brigade. It was more remote than Kaoshan village. The moment we entered, someone ran to notify the brigade leader, who came hurrying over with the youth point supervisor. I handed over my paperwork. Hello, brigade leader. I'm Xiao Mandong, the new sent-down youth. He looked through my documents carefully. Welcome to Red Flag Brigade, Comrade Xiao Mandong. This is Dong Huimin, the person in charge of the youth point. She'll arrange your living quarters. If you have questions, ask her. Dong Huimin was a short woman with ear-length hair and dark sun-weathered skin. She looked sharp and capable, clearly someone who'd been in the countryside a long time. Don't be so formal. Just call me Huimin, and I'll call you Mandong. Here, let me carry something. She took the cloth bundle from my hands without waiting for a reply. The youth point was a row of connected rooms. The east side had 3 rooms for female sent-down youth, 2 rooms with large shared sleeping platforms, and a kitchen in the middle. Each kitchen stove connected to the platform beds for heating in winter, though now in summer they cooked outside on a makeshift stove in the yard. The west side was for male youth, separated by a wooden fence. The outhouse was behind the building. Huimin walked me through everything while the brigade leader and the ox cart driver helped carry my chests inside. I gave the driver 2 yuan. The usual rate was 1, but he'd done extra work carrying things in. After the cart left, the brigade leader sighed, looking at the crowded quarters. Another person meant even less space. The 2 platforms were meant for 10, but now there were 12 female youth. He'd have to figure out whether someone was willing to board with a local family. Comrade Xiao Mandong, I heard you have some personal matters to take care of. I'm giving you 2 days off. Report for work the day after tomorrow. The party secretary, the village chief's cousin, had asked him to look after me, so the brigade leader was being generous. Thank you, brigade leader, but I only need 1 day. Could you also give my sister Xiao Manchua a day off tomorrow? She's my older sister. I'm her older sister. We haven't seen each other in a year. I just want to spend a day talking with her. He already knew we were sisters and could see I wasn't being greedy. I'd even given up one of my own rest days. He agreed right away. He also told me to pick up my grain rations from the brigade office when I had time. It would be counted as a loan to be repaid for my harvest at the end of the year. After he left, Huimin poured me a cup of water. You and Xiao Manchua look a lot alike. I guessed you were related the moment I saw you. This room has 5 people right now. The room next door has 6. That's where Manchua sleeps. I'll swap with her tonight so you 2 can be together. I pulled a handful of milk candies from my pocket and pressed them into her hand. Huimin, thank you. But won't 6 people on 1 platform be too crowded? Of course it's crowded, but what can we do? The youth point is only so big, and the village has no money to build more. You can apply to board with a local family, but nobody wants to. A couple of years ago, A girl staying at a villager's house. Something happened. After that, no female youth has been willing to stay with locals. She was being kind, giving me a quiet warning because I'd been generous with the candy. I wanted to ask about my sister. I pulled out a bag of brown sugar from my basket. Huimin, I haven't seen my sister in a year. Can you tell me how she's been doing? She tried to push the sugar back. No, I can't take something that expensive. Take it. We're going to be living together for years. Let's be friends. She thanked me several times, quickly hid the sugar so no one would see, then leaned in close and started whispering. The more she told me, the darker my face got. My sister was already in trouble here, even at this early stage. When she mentioned the name Wang Yuanyuan, everything clicked. Wang Yuanyuan was my mother's brother's daughter, my cousin on the maternal side. I never expected she'd be sent down to the same village. My sister's class background was supposed to be secret. Wang Yuanyuan must have been the one who told everyone. I forced myself to stay calm. Huimin and I walked together to the fields to find my sister. We'd barely reached the edge of the field when I saw a crowd gathered in a circle. Huimin grabbed my arm and started running. The one getting beaten in the middle. That's Xiao Manxue. Hurry. My mind exploded. All I could see was the image from my deathbed. Wang Shumei's words about my sister covered in blood, coming to find me. I ran faster than I knew I could. A woman had my sister pinned to the ground, hitting her. I grabbed the woman by the hair, dragged her away, and flung her to the side. The spirit spring water I'd been drinking had made me stronger than before. She went flying. I fought to control my rage. I was here to change my sister's fate, not to make things worse by losing my temper. Manchua's lip was bleeding and there were scratch marks on her face. I helped her up. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. She grabbed the corner of my shirt and held on tight, her voice breaking on a single word. Sis. The woman rubbed her scalp, confused. Who had the nerve to grab her hair like that? Then she looked up and saw a face almost identical to Manchua's. She noticed blood on her palm from where I'd torn her scalp, and she screamed and scrambled to her feet, charging at me. If she wanted to throw the first punch, I was more than ready. I pushed my sister toward Huimin, who caught her. I rolled up my sleeves, ready for a real fight. Stop! The brigade leader's shout froze the woman in her tracks. He'd only gone to the outhouse, and somehow a brawl had erupted. The woman started whining immediately. Brigade leader, this Xiao Manxue has been seducing my boyfriend. Was I wrong to hit her? And this woman came out of nowhere and attacked me. The brigade leader looked exhausted. This was Hu Guizhen. She was always accusing my sister of chasing her boyfriend. But the truth was her so-called boyfriend was the one who kept following Manxue around, insisting on doing her work for her no matter how many times she told him to stop. He was like a leech. The brigade leader had dealt with it 4 or 5 times already, and the man was still shameless about it. By now Manxue had told me everything. Before the brigade leader could even respond, I walked up to Hu Guizhen and slapped her across the face with everything I had. The force knocked her to the ground. Her cheeks swelled up instantly. Everyone standing around went silent, mouths hanging open. Did she just one slap and Hu Guizhen went flying? She finally messed with the wrong person. Hu Guizhen sat there stunned for a long moment before she came back to herself. You dare hit me? She started to get up and come at me. I reached down and picked up a sickle from the ground, but instead of pointing it at her, I pressed it against my own throat. I couldn't threaten her with a weapon. Our class status was already a target on our backs. If there was even a hint that I'd tried to hurt someone, the commune would investigate us. But turning the blade on myself was a different matter entirely. No village leader wanted a sent-down youth to harm herself on their watch. That would be their responsibility, their failure, their report to write. A sickle at my own neck was far more powerful than one pointed at her. My sister was terrified by what I was doing. Huimin had to hold her up because her legs were giving out. Sis, put down the sickle. I'm fine. Please don't do anything crazy. I gave her a look to let her know I was in control. Then, I turned to Hu Guizhen. Your name is Hu Guizhen, right? Tell me exactly how my sister seduced your boyfriend. Show me the proof. If you can't prove it, then you've been slandering her and destroying her reputation. If she can't take it anymore and something happens to her, whose fault is that? If I don't get a satisfactory answer today, I swear I'll take you down with me. I'll die right here.
If I
Can't live in peace, neither will you. Huguasian didn't dare come closer. Not because she was afraid I'd actually kill myself, but because she was afraid I'd lose my mind and use the sickle on her. The look in my eyes had shaken her. She'd never met anyone this intense. It was just a fight. Why was I acting like it was life or death? My boyfriend keeps doing her field work for her. If that's not seduction, what is? Even as she said it, her voice wavered. She knew deep down it had nothing to do with my sister. She just couldn't control her own boyfriend, and she was angry. She wanted to destroy Manchua's pretty face, so he'd stop looking. I laughed. Did your mother leave your brain behind when she gave birth to you? Did my sister ask him to do her work? A man who chases after someone uninvited is pathetic. That kind of man deserves someone exactly like you. Don't you dare connect him with my sister. The crowd went dead quiet. Then the murmuring started. That's vicious. She's this pretty and this fierce. She looks just like Manchua, but the personality is completely different. Those words don't match that face at all. It was the first time in 2 lifetimes I'd ever used language that crude. Hatred had burned away every shred of politeness. I didn't care about being ladylike anymore. The fact that I hadn't already hacked at her with the sickle was my restraint. The brigade leader was secretly impressed. Huguasian was the youth point's biggest troublemaker. She came from a slightly better-off family and acted like everyone owed her respect. You capitalist princess, what right do you have to talk to me like that? Huguasian's face was twisted with rage. Nobody had ever humiliated her like this. Who told you I'm a capitalist's daughter? Come on, who said it? Let's go to the youth office right now. Let's go to the commune and check whether our transfer papers were properly approved, whether the officials who signed off on them are all corrupt. Go ahead, Huguasian, investigate. You must have a very powerful father to be throwing around labels like that. Just then, a girl in the crowd stiffened. Wang Yuan, my cousin from my mother's side. She hadn't expected me to show up here, and she could see that my words were about to undo all the gossip she'd spread about my sister's background. She rushed forward to cut me off. Sister Mandong, what are you doing here? Everyone already knows the truth. I accidentally let it slip.
I'm sorry, he smiled.
This fool chose the worst possible moment to step into the open. Oh, please don't call me that. My real cousin, my uncle's actual daughter, was taken in by her maternal grandmother's family after my aunt died in childbirth. Your mother was just the second wife. And funny thing, you're only 6 months younger than my real cousin. Everyone says you're the illegitimate child my uncle had with your mother while his first wife was still alive. Can we really trust what a woman like your mother raised you to say? Wang Yuan's face went white. She never imagined I'd expose her family history in front of everyone. Her nails dug into her palms, and her voice shook as she tried to save face. My real father isn't your uncle. You can't slander my mother. She's your elder. I grew up in the Wang household and took their family name, that's all. Is it wrong for me to call you sister? Then your words are even less trustworthy. If you're not actually part of the family, how would you know anything about our private affairs? Oh, I see. You're deliberately framing us. And if you're really not my uncle's daughter, then you ate his food, drank his water, grew up under his roof, and now you repay him by slandering his own nieces? You're an ungrateful wolf who can't be tamed. Why would anyone believe a word from someone like you? She couldn't get a single word out. Her lips trembled, tears started flowing, and she turned and ran. She was afraid that if she stayed, I'd say something even worse. Everyone saw that. The liar ran away because she knew she was caught. If anyone else spreads lies about my sister, I'll report them to the commune. I stared hard at Huguasian. The brigade leader decided things had gone far enough. Comrade Xiao Mandong, put down the sickle. Don't hurt yourself, he turned to Huguasian. You made false accusations against a female comrade. Apologize to Comrade Xiao Manchua immediately. Huguasian didn't want to apologize, and I didn't want to hear one. Brigade leader, forget the apology. We won't accept it anyway. Just punish her. Dock her work points. My sister's face is scratched up. I want money for medical treatment. I tossed the sickle on the ground and dusted off my hands. An apology was worthless. Money was useful. Hu Guizhen glared at me with bloodshot eyes. You hit me too. You should pay me as well. I shrugged. You started it. I defended my sister. That's called self-defense. I was making up legal terms on the spot. I knew that in this era almost nobody understood the law. If I sounded confident enough, I could bluff anyone. Hu Guizhen chewed her lip so hard it nearly bled. Losing work points and paying money was worse than a simple apology. She'd rather say sorry than open her wallet. She gritted her teeth.
Fine.
I'm sorry. We don't accept. Brigade leader, please handle this properly. She disrupted work for the entire field. If there's no real punishment, everyone else will start doing the same thing. Why work when you can just watch the Hu Guizhen show every day? The brigade leader was happy to dock work points. They went back to the brigade's account. He cleared his throat. Comrade Hu Guizhen is docked 20 work points and will pay Comrade Xiao Manchue 5 yuan for medical expenses, to be taken from her family's next remittance. Consider this a warning. Everyone else back to work. Wait, I said, stopping him. Which one is Comrade Hu Guizhen's boyfriend? Every head turned toward a young man in the crowd, a bespectacled youth who looked bookish and harmless. I walked straight up to him. You're Hu Guizhen's boyfriend, he nodded. Everyone braced for me to hit him. Instead, I pulled a single coin from my pocket, 1 fun, the smallest denomination there was, and flicked it at his face. That's your payment for doing my sister's work. I hope you'll stop being so pathetic in the future. We're here to build the countryside, not to play romance games. People in the crowd actually laughed out loud. 1 fin coin bouncing off his face. That was more humiliating than a slap. Brigade leader, I'm going to take my sister to treat her wounds. I'll come back and finish her work for her. I'd done farm work my entire previous life. A bit of field labor was nothing. Go ahead, but come back quick, he said. I thanked him and took my sister by the hand. We walked toward the youth point together. Behind us, the young man, fan one high, stood frozen, staring at the ground. His fists were clenched, so tight his knuckles were white. That 1 fin coin was the greatest insult of his life. Worse than a slap. I'd figured out his real game. He'd noticed my sister was pretty and that she never received letters from home. No family, no protector. He'd gotten ideas. With Hu Guizhen constantly harassing Manchue, he'd calculated that eventually my sister would be desperate enough to come to him for help. Then he could take advantage of her. He never expected a sister to appear out of nowhere. Back at the youth point, I cupped my sister's face in my hands and looked at the bloody scratches. My heart ached. It was clear now. In my previous life, my sister's tragedy was connected to Wang Yuanyuan and Hu Guizhen. This time, I would make them both taste what payback felt like. Stop crying. Let me get some water to clean your wounds. Manchue turned back into the little girl I remembered, sniffling and leaning into me like she used to at home. I used the water jar as cover and secretly took out spirit spring water from the space. I couldn't let my sister's face scar. The moment the water touched her wounds, she relaxed. The pain faded instantly. She thought it was just the comfort of having family around again. Then she noticed my camphor wood chests on the floor. She recognized them. Grandpa had made them by hand as part of my wedding dowry. Sis, why did you bring those here? I sold my job. I'm here to be with you. Her head snapped up. She knew I was married. A married woman didn't just show up to work in the countryside. She refused to be a burden. That's why she'd never come to find me even when things got bad. She knew married life wasn't easy and didn't want to make trouble for me with my in-laws. Sis, don't worry about me.
I'm fine.
Go back and live your life with your husband. Really, I told her everything. The affair, the divorce, the thermos, the guarantee letter, all of it. Tears poured down her face. She bit her lip until it was white. Just because our family had fallen, everyone thought they could trample all over us. It wasn't fair. I stopped her sharply. Don't cry. The tears will infect your scratches. Listen to me. I never slept with him. I wasn't sent down. I have a huge pile of money from selling my job. Our lives are going to be good from now on. The Liu family is the one who should be crying. She threw her arms around me. She knew I'd come to the countryside for her sake. With a factory job, even divorced, I would have been fine. I didn't need to be here digging in the dirt, but here I was. All right, enough. If you keep crying, that pretty face is going to scar. I pulled out a tomato from the space and handed it to her.
Eat this.
It's delicious. Then we'll go finish the work in the field and talk more tonight. She nodded and bit into the tomato. The sweet, tangy taste brought something back to life in her eyes. She told me later that just a few days ago, she'd been thinking about ending it all. My arrival had given her hope again. We went back to the field together. I told her to rest and let me handle the work, but she wouldn't hear of it. We worked side by side, talking the whole time. The villagers around us whispered to each other. That's what real sisters look like. Not like that Wang Yuanyuan, always calling Manxue sister, while stabbing her in the back. If it wasn't for Wang Yuanyuan spreading gossip about Manxue being a capitalist's daughter, talking about her family's nanny, their little Western-style house, their radio and electric fan, nobody would have known a thing. Wang Yuanyuan actually looks a bit like those two sisters. Maybe she really is the illegitimate one. Obviously. Did you see how white her face went? She ran because she was guilty. Wang Yuanyuan kept her head down, pretending not to hear, but every word cut into her. She was seething inside. She hated me most of all. She swore to herself that once I left, she'd make Manxue pay. She didn't believe I could stay at the youth point forever. She knew I'd married into a village somewhere nearby to avoid being sent down, but she didn't know the details. In the 6 months she'd been here, I'd never visited Manxue, not even a letter. So, why had I suddenly appeared? It infuriated her. The brigade leader watched me from a distance and was surprised. I looked delicate, but I handled the farm work well. With me helping, Manxue earned 7 work points that day. She usually only managed 5 or 6. After work ended, everyone learned I wasn't just visiting. I was here to stay. The reaction was immediate. People started wondering what Wang Yuanyuan's face would look like when she found out her cousin now had permanent backup. At dinner, Huimin explained how cooking shifts worked. The men chop firewood. The women cook. 2 women per day, everyone eats together. Who's my sister's partner? I asked. I knew there had been 11 women before I arrived. With an odd number, someone was always left out. Nobody wanted to cook with me, Manxue said quietly. Huimin always helps me on my days. She's been really kind to me this whole year. Huimin waved it off, embarrassed. That's just my job. I'm the supervisor. I'm supposed to help everyone. I thanked her sincerely. People who were cruel to us, I would remember. People who were kind, I would remember even longer. I'd go along with the cooking schedule for now. The sent-down youth wouldn't return to the cities for another 4 years. I couldn't stay cramped in the youth point forever, not with a secret space to hide. Manxue and I needed to move out eventually. I'd find a way to rent a room, or maybe even build a small house and give it to the village when we left. They'd probably agree to that. Wang Yuanyuan had been so distracted by her own scheming that she finished her fieldwork last. On the way back, her friend Chen Yulan came running up. Big news. What are you doing dragging your feet? Wang Yuanyuan secretly looked down on Chen Yulan. The girl was loud and nosy. But that made her the perfect megaphone. Wang Yuanyuan had used her to spread all the gossip about Manxue's background. What's the big deal? You'd think the sky was falling. Your cousin is here to stay. She's not leaving. What? You must have heard wrong. Wang Yuanyuan refused to believe it. I was married. There was no way I'd come to the countryside. My husband would have to be out of his mind to agree. I'm dead serious. She brought everything, luggage, quilts, the whole thing. I asked Huimin. It's real. Wang Yuanyuan rushed back to the youth point and saw my camphor chests and bundles piled up with her own eyes. Her stomach dropped. If I stayed, the 2 of us sisters would be united. Her comfortable life of tormenting Manxue was over. Sister Mandong, aren't you married? Why would you come down to the countryside? I wrinkled my nose and fanned the air. What's that smell? Is the back window open? Is that the outhouse? Something really stinks. She gritted her teeth. Even after the family had been sent down, I was still as sharp-tongued as when we were children. Does Annie know you came here to work the fields? She met my mother, her stepmother's husband's ex-wife. I looked at her with half-closed eyes and a thin smile. Is that any of your business? I'm just worried about you. Auntie said you had a good job. What about your work? Wang Yuan, you'd better stay out of my affairs. I won't be as patient as my sister. Push me too far, and I'll slap you across the face. I said it calmly, with a smile. She clenched her teeth and shut her mouth. She knew I meant it, but I could see her mind already working. She'd write a letter to my mother, her precious auntie, and ask her to deal with us. My mother had always doted on Wang Yuan, the stepdaughter's child she raised as her own. Let her write. I had plans of my own. Dinner was 1 cornmeal bun per woman, 2 per man, and a bowl of watery cabbage, soup with no oil. Chewing that rough bun brought me straight back to my previous life, the years after I lost my job, raising 2 children who weren't mine, giving them all the good grain while I choked down these same tasteless buns every day, washing each bite down with hot water so I wouldn't gag. Even now I had to stretch my neck to swallow. I ate 2 bites and stopped. I'd already died once. I wasn't going to punish myself anymore. I had steamed buns waiting in the space. Manchua's mouth hurt too much to eat properly. She managed a few bites. We saved both leftover buns in a metal box. She could soak them in water later, if she got hungry at night. In the past, Huguasian would have made sarcastic comments about Manchua wasting food and acting like a spoiled rich girl. Tonight, she just pressed her lips together and said nothing. The youth point was bearable during the day, with the windows open. But at night, when everyone came back from the fields drenched in sweat, some washing up, some just collapsing onto the platform beds without cleaning off, the smell was unbearable. I didn't want to stay inside. I grabbed my bamboo basket and pulled Manchua outside for a walk through the village. We headed west toward the back of the village, near the mountains. I wanted to find the road leading up to the cattle shed where my family was being held. I also wanted to see if there was a house I could rent. Ideally something close to the mountain so I could get up there easily. At the foot of the hill, I spotted a row of stone houses. The roofs had caved in, but the walls were solid, built from stone, still standing strong. The layout was similar to the youth point. A few meters from the east end was a well. I liked the location immediately. There were few neighbors around. With some repair work, these could make a decent home. I pulled 6 steamed buns from the space, using the basket as cover. Manchua's eyes went wide. So that's why I'd brought the basket. She'd assumed I was planning to pick herbs. Our whole family knew something about medicinal plants, though I knew the most because I used to go up the mountain with Grandpa. The truth was I didn't love picking herbs. I loved the hunting Grandpa did along the way. Manchua hadn't eaten anything this good in a long time. She had no money and no coupons. She forgot about her sore mouth and wolfed down the buns, one big bite after another. I poked her forehead. Mom is supposed to send you money and coupons every month. Why aren't you spending them? She answered with her mouth full. Forget money and coupons. I haven't received a single letter. All the letters I sent home never got a reply either. What? You haven't received anything from Mom this whole year? That's impossible. Did someone steal your mail? Or pick it up pretending to be you? I clearly remembered that before our parents divorced, Dad had given Mama some money. He'd said country life was hard for girls, and Manchua was young. He didn't want to give her too much cash directly, because that could make her a target. So he arranged for Mom to send a small amount each month along with some coupons. If locals saw that the family cared, they wouldn't bully her. That was exactly why I'd never worried much about Manchua in my previous life. I assumed she had money and support. Her life couldn't be too bad. How wrong I was. Manchua smiled bitterly. I wrote home so many times. I suspected the mail was being intercepted, so I asked the brigade leader for help. I even told Mom in a letter to address the reply to the brigade leader's name. Nothing. I wrote to our brother too. Nothing back. When I first got here, Dad gave me 100 yuan. I spent some on necessities, a thermos, basic supplies. After 6 months, I still had over 80 yuan left. Then Wang Yuan showed up. I was actually happy at first, finally a relative, someone to keep me company. She borrowed money from me. How could I say no? But she never paid it back. I asked her for it several times. First she said she'd return it in a few days. Then she just denied she ever borrowed it. There were no witnesses. She'd been careful to borrow when we were alone. She even turned it around on me. 2 months ago, I used my last bit of money to buy stamps. I wrote to Mom explaining that I had nothing left, that Wang Yuanyuan took everything, and begged her for help. But her tears started falling again. The hurt in her voice was raw. Every other youth at the point received letters from home almost every month. She was the only one nobody cared about. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt real anger toward our mother. I could forgive her for not attending my wedding. I could let go of how she'd ignored my pleas for help in my previous life. But Manxue was only 17. A girl that young, sent to the countryside alone. And her own mother didn't send money, didn't even acknowledge her existence. She kept the money that was meant for her daughter's survival. How could I not be furious? I pulled 20 yuan from my pocket and pressed it into Manxue's hand. Take this. Buy whatever you want to eat. I have plenty of money. Sis, I don't have anywhere to spend it. She tried to give it back, but I held her hand closed around it. I'm giving it to you. We're sisters. Since we were little, we've always split everything down the middle. Don't argue with me. Her eyes went red again. Hold those tears in. If your face gets infected, that's my problem to deal with. She hugged my arm and squeezed the money tight in her palm. She truly had nothing. Her work points were low. If I hadn't come, she probably wouldn't have had enough grain to last through the year. We chatted as we walked back. Just as we reached the youth point gate, we heard shouting inside. We walked in to find luggage scattered across the floor and 2 women on the platform bed pulling each other's hair. One of them thrashed in her sleep and kept throwing her legs onto the other. It had started as an argument and turned into a full brawl. Manxue gave a weary smile. That one used to sleep next to me. She'd kick me awake in the middle of the night. After I moved beds, Jian Shiyue ended up beside her. And Jian Shiyue is not someone who takes that quietly. I squeezed my sister's hand. We needed to move out of here as fast as possible. People pulled the 2 fighters apart twice, but they kept going at each other. Eventually, everyone gave up and let them tire themselves out. The whole place agreed. The youth point was far too crowded. Each person had barely half a meter of sleeping space. Rolling over at night woke the person next to you. This was summer. In winter, with thick quilts, there wouldn't even be room to lie down. Huimin thought this fight was the perfect excuse to go to the brigade leader and demand a solution. She turned and saw me. Mandong, could you run and get the brigade leader? Tell him there's a fight at the youth point and we need help. I can't leave right now. I grabbed my basket and took Manxue by the hand. This was an opportunity one couldn't afford to miss. We reached the brigade leader's house quickly. The gate was wide open, in the countryside. Nobody locked their doors. The yard was too big for knocking to be heard, so I just shouted. A thin, kind-looking woman came out and brought us inside without asking too many questions. I told the brigade leader about the fight at the youth point and explained why it happened. He sighed heavily. He knew the living conditions were bad. Being tough was one thing, but people needed proper rest. But what could he do? The village had no money to build new housing. The only option was having youth board with local families, but ever since a female youth drowned herself in the river 2 years ago after staying at a villager's home, nobody was willing to do that anymore. I saw my chance and spoke up. Brigade leader, I have an idea that could solve the housing problem. What idea? His voice was eager. The housing issue was his biggest headache, especially with more youth possibly arriving by year's end. I noticed a row of stone houses at the west end of the village. If they were repaired, people could live there. The light in his eyes dimmed. All that's left is stone walls. Fixing them would cost real money, and the village doesn't have it. I'd been waiting for exactly that response. I'll pay rent to the village, and I'll cover the repair costs myself. But the village has to lease the houses to me for 5 years. The rooms I repair are mine to live in privately. The village can't assign anyone else to move in with me. I'm sure other youth will want to move out of the youth point too. You can offer them the same deal. It brings income to the village and solves the overcrowding at the same time. What do you think? The light came back into his eyes. Of course it could work. Why hadn't he thought of it? He didn't even bother going to deal with the fight. Those two went at each other several times a month, and nobody was going to die. Shunzi, go get the other village leaders. Emergency meeting at the brigade office. His son ran off to gather people. The brigade leader walked with Manshue and me to the office. The other leaders arrived in a hurry, expecting some kind of crisis. Instead, they found two young women sitting on the steps. I heard someone call out, "Accountant Sun," and remembered what Huimin had told me earlier. Accountant Sun's son had died, leaving behind a grandson. His daughter-in-law, Zhang Yanhong, had a middle school education, and the village had given her the timekeeper job out of pity. Her younger brother was a local layabout, and she'd been skimming work points from my sister's record to pad his. When Manshue caught her and reported it to the party secretary, Zhang Yanhong nearly lost her position. Accountant Sun had to beg, and she had to make a public apology over the village loudspeaker before things settled down. So the moment Accountant Sun spotted Manshue, his eyebrows knotted with displeasure. Between his daughter-in-law's grudge and the fact that he'd been interrupted during a private moment at home, he was in a foul mood. He didn't bother hiding it. "What's this? She arrives today, picks a fight, and now she's dragging us to the office at night? Are we her personal servants?" I wasn't about to let that slide. Aren't village officials supposed to serve the people? If I have a problem, should I skip you and write directly to Beijing? Think they'd take my call. He hadn't expected a new arrival to bite back that hard. He wanted to say he was off duty, but he didn't dare. After what I'd done today, he was sure I'd report him to the commune by morning. The brigade leader cut us off. "Comrade Xiao Mandong, please wait. We need to discuss this inside." The leaders went into the office. Manshue and I sat outside on the doorstep. I could hear bits of the conversation through the walls. I was confident. As long as these people weren't stupid, this would work. Manshue was nervous beside me. She desperately wanted to move out. The youth point was a nightmare of overcrowding and petty backstabbing, and she had no talent for any of it. Inside, the brigade leader laid out my proposal. Everyone was on board, except Accountant Sunday. Those stone walls were practically the same as building from scratch. Someone was volunteering to pay for repairs and rent. It was free money falling from the sky. But Accountant Sun objected. "These youth are here to learn from the peasants, not to live in luxury. Private housing? That's absurd. If she wants to build, the village should be allowed to assign other people to live there too." The brigade leader and the party secretary looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "She's paying for the construction and paying rent specifically, so she can live privately. Do you think she's stupid?" The brigade leader said. "It's still individualism. They're supposed to be re-educated by the poor peasants, not creating special privileges. Fixing up that whole row of stone houses would take serious effort. This kind of self-centered behavior is no different from capitalist thinking." The brigade leader's face darkened. Was this man accusing him of encouraging bad behavior? "Fine then, Accountant Sunday. Why don't you go handle the youth point situation yourself? They're fighting right now. 6 people on one sleeping platform. The youth are demanding a solution. Go solve it. I clearly don't have the ability. And remember, more people may arrive by year's end. Better come up with an answer for that too." Accountant Sun went silent. How was housing his problem? He was just an accountant. Just let them stay with local families. "Other villages do it that way," he muttered. The brigade leader nodded. "Good idea. You arrange it then. And while you're at it, write a personal guarantee that if anything happens, you take full responsibility." Accountant Sun's jaw clenched. The brigade leader was clearly pushing back on purpose. "I said building is fine, just let the village assign some people to move in. You can't let that much space go to just one person. That's selfish. If she doesn't agree, let them keep squeezing at the youth point. They'll give in eventually. But if she repairs the entire row, then maybe giving the sisters their own room would be acceptable." The party secretary sighed. Everyone could see through Accountant Sunday. He was mixing personal grudges with public business, using individualism as a cover because of what my sister had done to his daughter-in-law. His thinking was embarrassingly small. The whole incident had been his daughter-in-law's fault in the first place. They only invited him to meetings as a courtesy. He was an accountant, he had no real authority. And here he was, trying to sabotage something that would benefit the entire village. He couldn't see past his own petty resentments. The secretary had heard enough. "I approve this proposal. Write up the agreement now." That shut Accountant Sun up. He could push back against the brigade leader, but he didn't dare challenge the party secretary. Deep down, He understood the deal was good for the village. He just didn't want the Shao sisters to have anything easy. The party secretary made the final call, and the brigade leader sat down with me to discuss the rental details. He suggested 20 yuan per year, payable annually. I could tell he was trying to ease my financial burden, thinking a young woman fresh from the city couldn't have much money. But I insisted on paying all 5 years up front. I was worried the village might change their mind once they saw the finished houses and try to take them back. 100 yuan in one payment was hard for anyone to argue with, and the leaders were happy to accept. I chose the 3 rooms on the east side because they were closest to the well. The village accountant wrote up the agreement quickly. I read it through, then placed it flat on the table. My voice was calm, but my eyes weren't. You know what? Let's forget it. Since the village can't bear to part with a few crumbling stone walls, I won't force anyone. His agreement had buried a clause allowing the village to move other people into rooms I'd paid to repair. I wasn't having it. I'd pay for construction, pay rent, and then share the space with strangers? They might as well just rob me. I took Manchua's hand and turned to leave. The brigade leader stopped me, picked up the agreement, read it, and handed it to the party secretary without a word. The secretary gave the accountant one long, hard look. He didn't need to say anything. That stare alone made the accountant break into a cold sweat in the middle of summer. He tried to slip his little trick past me, assuming I either wouldn't notice or wouldn't make a scene. He was wrong on both counts, and now the secretary was furious with him. The secretary wrote a new agreement himself. I read it, signed immediately, and handed over 100 yuan for the full 5 years of rent. Leaders, I'd also like to hire villagers to do the repairs. I want the roof beams reinforced with a proper ridge, tall walls around the front and backyards, whitewashed. Interior walls, a toilet in the backyard, new heated platforms in both rooms, and firewalls for the room dividers. I wrote down all my requirements on scrap paper. I just need reliable workers. Could you help me estimate the labor and materials cost? The secretary looked impressed. He hadn't expected a young woman to know about roof ridging. I knew because I'd lived through what was coming. This winter, a massive snowstorm would last over a month. Across the region, old houses with flat roofs would collapse and kill people. The brigade leader's son had built a new house last year for his wedding, so he had a rough idea of costs. He counted on his fingers. 2 main beams, about 24 yuan. 8 purlins, 40 yuan. 20 rafters, 16. 2 heated platforms, 15. Plastering and whitewash, about 22. Yard walls, toilet, adobe and stone slabs, 8. Door and window repairs, extra wall height, hardware, nails, and miscellaneous materials plus labor, with a mud and straw roof, roughly 180 total. With a proper tile roof, about 195. He wrote everything down neatly on paper. I pulled out 200 yuan and handed it to him. Here, we'll settle up after it's done. Refund or top up as needed. Please pick the workers for me. I trust your judgment. Then I glanced sideways at accountant's son. The brigade leader was sharp. One look and he understood. I didn't want anyone connected to the Sun family anywhere near my project. He smiled to himself. This girl had a memory for grudges, a sweet tongue, and knew how to handle people. At first I'd called him brigade leader, then Uncle Brigade Leader, and now just Uncle. City kids really were different. Don't you worry. I'll keep track of every single penny for you. The secretary went home. The accountant slunk away with a dark face. The brigade leader and squad leader still needed to stop by the youth point. If other youth wanted to build too, they could order materials together, and the village would earn more rent. My house would come first, naturally. I was the one who'd come up with the idea. Back at the youth point, the 2 fighters had stopped hitting each other and were sitting on opposite ends of the platform, panting and trading insults. Huimin had been watching the gate anxiously. She'd only sent me to fetch the brigade leader, but it was fully dark now, and I still wasn't back. She was about to organize a search party. There had been a black bear spotted coming down from the mountain recently, and nobody went out alone after dark. She spotted us following the brigade leader through the gate and finally relaxed. The brigade leader ignored the fighters. He called all the youth into the yard for meeting, men and women together, over 20 people standing in the dark. He cleared his throat. Comrade Xiao Mandong and Xiao Manxue will be moving out of the youth point within 10 days. That should temporarily ease the crowding. If anyone else still feels it's too tight, you're welcome to apply to board with a local family, your choice of household. We won't interfere. Everyone stared at Manxue and me. They were all wondering which family we'd be staying with. Two pretty girls living in a stranger's home could be dangerous. The brigade leader continued. You can also do what Comrade Xiao did, rent from the village. She's repairing the stone houses at the west end of the village at her own expense. Rent goes to the brigade, 20 yuan per year. There are 5 rooms left. Anyone interested can come talk to me. The crowd erupted in whispers. So we weren't boarding with a family, we were renting and rebuilding. But that collapsed stone row? Fixing it would cost a fortune. Paying for construction and rent on top of that seemed like throwing money away. Then again, having your own place did sound wonderful. All right, early start tomorrow. Everyone get some rest. The brigade leader left, but nobody at the youth point could sleep. People crowded around me asking about the rent and repair costs. I don't know the exact total yet. We'll find out after it's finished. If you're not in a rush, wait and see how mine turns out first, I told them. The person suffering most that night was Wang Yuan. She'd hoped I was just visiting. Instead, I was staying permanently, and now I was building my own house. She couldn't stand that I had money to spare. Fixing those ruins would cost, well, over 100 yuan. She decided to write to our mother first thing tomorrow and ask her to intervene. And once my house was done, she planned to move in too. If there was a new house available, she certainly wasn't staying in this dump. Hu Guizhen had always thought she was the richest one at the youth point. Her mother sent her 10 yuan every month. Watching me casually hand over hundreds made her face twist with jealousy. She wanted out of the youth point too. Her plan was to marry Fan Wenhai and make his family pay for a house. A groom fixing up a home for his bride was perfectly normal. That way she'd have a roof over her head and a husband who couldn't chase other women. As for Fan Wenhai, he was thinking along similar lines. With me here, he'd never get near Manxue again. Going back to the city seemed hopeless. If he married Hu Guizhen, her family had money. Maybe they'd repair a house for him. He'd get someone to cook and wash his clothes without the crowding. Win-win. Everyone at the youth point was scheming their own angle that night. 5 rooms remained, and they all knew, if you wanted out, you had to move fast. The next morning I woke up early, sore all over. The youth point was so cramped I'd slept in one position the entire night without moving. But Manxue told me it was the best night's sleep she'd had in a whole year. Just having me there changed everything for her. After everyone left for work, I made 2 cups of malted milk powder and brought out the egg cakes I'd bought. We'd eat well first, then go to town to buy Manxue some shoes and clothes. Her shoe soles had holes worn straight through them. I had the cloth coupons Director Liu gave me, so the timing was perfect. Meanwhile, Wang Yuan had gotten the day off to go mail her letter. She walked into the youth point and smelled the sweet aroma of egg cake. Her eyes locked onto what was in my hand, and she started swallowing hard. She spotted the half-open bag on the table and reached for it. I snatched it away. Wang Yuan, are you really going to steal from me now? Sister Mandong, my dad is your real uncle. I'm your cousin. You can't play favorites, only caring about your blood sister and ignoring me. She said it without a shred of shame. Nobody else was around, so she wasn't worried about the family connection being exposed. Oh, now you remember we're relatives? Before I got here, how did you treat Manxue? Spreading her identity everywhere. What did that get you? Before our family fell, didn't you take enough from us? You borrowed money and pretended it never happened. Wang Yuan, you're truly shameless. I drained the last of my malted milk, packed the egg cakes in my basket, grabbed Manxue, and walked out. Wang Yuan stamped her feet in rage and chased after us. There was only one morning ox cart to town, and she couldn't afford to miss it. Manxue and I got on the cart just as the last seats filled up. When Wang Yuan caught up, there was no room. She begged the driver, but he refused. The ox couldn't handle the extra weight. She'd used her only day off for this letter. Missing the cart was unacceptable. She was determined to report me to our mother, convinced our mother would put me in my place. As the cart slowly pulled away, I could still see her in the distance, walking after us on foot, jaw clenched. On the cart, my eyes landed on a gloomy-looking woman sitting across from me. She seemed familiar, but I couldn't place her. After we got off, Manshua whispered, "That's Zhang Yanhong, accountant's son's daughter-in-law. The village timekeeper, Zhang Yanhong."
Suddenly it clicked.
In my previous life, Lu Ming, the son I raised who was a mine, had a close classmate named Sun Hao. I'd met Sun Hao's mother, Zhang Yanhong, at parent meetings several times. But that was over a decade from now, and she'd looked completely different then, so I hadn't recognized her. I remembered that Sun Hao was the same age as Lu Ming, born just 2 months earlier. If I counted backward from Lu Ming's birthday, then Sun Hao should be in Zhang Yanhong's belly right now, about 2 months along. But her husband had been dead for 3 years. According to Huimin, Zhang Yanhong was the village's model daughter-in-law, a faithful widow who refused to remarry, devoted to her in-laws and her child. That sterling reputation was exactly why the village had given her a second chance after she was caught stealing my sister's work points. If she was pregnant, who was the father? I turned the question over in my mind all the way to the supply store. The store didn't have much ready-made clothing, and they wouldn't let you try anything on. Nothing looked good, so I bought fabric instead and planned to find someone to sew it. I got Manshua a pair of cloth shoes and a pair of rubber shoes to alternate. Then I mailed another letter to my brother with 10 yuan tucked inside, addressed to his friend Shun Li since school was out for summer break. I took Manshua to the state-run restaurant. We ordered braised pork, tofu, and 2 bowls of rice. While she wasn't looking, I bought 10 steamed buns and slipped them into the space. I had plenty of money, but coupons were limited. I really needed the house finished soon so I could cook whatever I wanted. We'd barely started eating when the restaurant filled up. "Excuse me, comrade, there's no seats left. Mind if we sit beside you?" I looked up to see 3 tall, sturdy men in green military uniforms. Of course I didn't mind. Manshua and I scooted over to make room. "Captain, are you coming to Kaoshan village with us this afternoon?" "No, I'm on leave visiting family." "Do the work yourselves. Follow procedure. Go through the commune first, then enter the village with their personnel." "Yes, sir, understood." Kaoshan village. I knew immediately. These men were conducting Lu Jiangwo's political background check for his military enlistment. The commune already knew about his scandal. In this lifetime, his army dream was dead. In my previous life, he'd ridden Lu Jianjun's martyr status into the military and spent his whole career doing nothing. This time, he wouldn't get to waste a perfectly good uniform. After lunch, Manshua and I caught the ox cart back to the village. One of the soldiers from the restaurant walked over and hopped on too. "Well, if it isn't the Zhou family's second boy," the driver exclaimed. "When did you get back? How long are you staying?" "Just arrived." "Should be about a month if nothing comes up." "Good, good. Your grandmother cries every time she talks about you. Stay a while and keep her company." Several women on the cart greeted him warmly. He was clearly from our village. Then one of the women leaned in. "Hey, I heard that soldier from Kaoshan village who died in service. Is that true?" His voice went quiet.
"Yes."
"He sacrificed himself for the country." "Oh my, I heard his widow came home and immediately got together with his younger brother. The brother's wife caught them in the act. He's divorced now. Is that really true?" "You shouldn't spread things like that." "It's absolutely true. My sister-in-law married into that village. She told me everything." The younger brother's wife was apparently very pretty. Had a good job, too. On their wedding day, a telegram came from the army, and the whole family rushed off before the couple even spent their first night together. When they got back from the funeral, the wife caught the brother and the widow together. She divorced him without ever sharing a bed with him. Another woman jumped in. "My mother's family is from the same village as the mother-in-law's side. They said the family never liked the girl, bad class background. They registered the marriage a year earlier, but never held the banquet. But they'd been living together the whole time. Word is she got pregnant, so they finally held the ceremony. Then the family's eldest son died the same day. She's bad luck, that one. Poor thing though, divorced, how will she ever find another husband? A woman alone with a child, how will she survive?" Manshua clenched her fists and started to stand up. I pressed her back down. I hadn't expected to hear gossip about myself on an ox cart, but I didn't care anymore. I had no plans to remarry in this lifetime. Let them talk.
Being alone suited me fine.
All I wanted was to make money and protect my family, though I did have one wish tucked away deep in my heart. Someday, after reform and opening up, if I met a man who was truly good in every way, I might borrow what I needed from him. Keep the child, lose the father. In my last life, I'd spent decades raising other people's children. The ache of never having my own was a knot I could never untie. As we walked back toward the youth point, we passed a corner and overheard Fan Wenhai and Huguasian arguing. Wenhai, let's rent a room and get married, Huguasian was saying. There's no telling when we'll get to go back to the city. We can start a family here. If we wait too long, we'll be too old to find anyone when we do go home. Are you joking? You know my family situation. My parents are trying to get me transferred back to the city. I can't ask them for money to get married. If you want to marry, your family pays for the house. When my parents get me back to the city, you can come with me. You'd actually be getting the better deal. What a shameless man. He wanted the woman's family to pay for everything. I couldn't understand what Huguasian saw in him. Break up? Wenhai, I've already given you everything. What am I supposed to do now? I dragged Manshua away. These two were disgusting. Manshua was still upset about the gossip on the ox cart and hadn't been listening anyway. Back at the youth point, Huimin met us at the gate with news. Mandong, you've got neighbors. 4 male youth signed up with the brigade leader today. They're sharing 3 rooms. That was actually good news. Having men living nearby meant the local troublemakers wouldn't feel so free to bother us. I couldn't be at Manshua's side every minute. I still needed to go up the back mountain to check on our family. Manshua didn't know that our father, grandparents, and the rest of our family had been sent to the cattle shed right behind this village. I'd only learned that myself after they were cleared in my previous life. I wasn't going to tell her yet. My trips would have to be at night, and if anything dangerous happened, I could hide in the space. But Manshua couldn't. Bringing her along would be too risky. And I had no intention of telling anyone about the space, not even my own sister. I could be good to her, but I wasn't going to test human nature. The door slammed open. Huguasian stormed in and shot me a vicious glare. In her mind, I was the root of all problems, renting houses, building houses, stirring things up. If I hadn't started this, none of these complications would exist. I had no idea what her problem was. She was unhinged. I noticed a few other youth giving me strange looks too. Yesterday they'd chatted with me happily. Today they were whispering and staring sideways. I understood. People don't resent having less. They resent others having more. Huimin mentioned that the brigade leader had already hauled the lumber and adobe bricks to the building site that morning. I didn't feel like sitting around enduring dirty looks, so I decided to go check on the houses and find a carpenter to make a bed table and a bathing tub. Huimin, Manshua, and I ate in town. Skip us for lunch and dinner. We're going to look at the stone houses. Is there a woodworker in the village? There's an old man on the east side, a widower with no children. The village looks after him. He makes small things to sell to the youth and villagers. Everyone calls him Uncle Chongwei. His craftsmanship is excellent. But come back before dark. A black bear came down from the mountain a few days ago. We thanked her, grabbed my basket, and headed toward the stone houses. On the way, I noticed villagers running toward the east end of the village. I was curious and pulled Manshua along to see what was happening. She was surprised. She always avoided crowds because of how people treated her. A circle of people had gathered. From the chatter, I pieced together what happened. A man named Zhou Manton had beaten his second son. The son was a soldier who'd come home on leave, the same one from the ox cart. His father had arranged a marriage match that the son refused. The father flew into a rage and started hitting him with a wooden stick. The grandmother threw herself between them to protect her grandson, and the stick struck her leg. The boy is 22. Of course his father's anxious about marriage. But hitting that hard? The old woman's bone might be broken. A young man pushed through the crowd. Brother, the barefoot doctor left the village 2 days ago. The tractor is in town, and the ox cart is gone too. Should we load Grandma onto a pushcart and take her to the hospital? Through the gaps in the crowd, I could see the soldier, the same one from the restaurant, kneeling on the ground with blood running down his forehead. His grandmother lay in his arms, her face twisted with pain, her pant legs soaked in blood. Several family members stood around, looking helpless. I squeezed closer for a better look, and my heart clenched. I recognized this old woman. In my previous life, after our family was cleared, Grandpa brought us all back to move Grandma's grave to a proper resting place. He'd made a special trip to thank this grandmother. When my own grandmother died in the cattle shed with no one to care for her, the others were going to wrap her in a straw mat and bury her in the dirt. But this old woman, Joe's grandmother, had found them on the mountain and given them the thin coffin she'd been saving for herself. I could see now that her leg was the same one that had been lame when I met her years later. So this was when it happened, broken by her own son's hand. Someone wheeled over a pushcart. But hours of bumping along dirt roads to the hospital? With that kind of injury, the jolting would almost certainly destroy whatever was left of the bone. She'd lose the leg. My father had warned me 1,000 times before the family was sent down. Never show your medical skills. In this political climate, traditional Chinese medicine was under attack, revealing what I knew could bring disaster. But this was the woman who'd given her own coffin to my grandmother. She was our family's savior. Listening to her groans of pain, I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. They were about to lift her onto the cart. Wait. Every head turned toward me. Manshue grabbed my arm, trying to hold me back. Traditional medicine was being suppressed. I didn't have a barefoot doctor's certificate. She didn't want me walking into trouble.